2023 wasn't a good year for the Carolina Panthers, but I'm trying to make 2024 a better one for myself. Get started on your resolutions with Factor so you're ready for the new year. Factor's ready-to-eat meal delivery takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year. Skip the grocery stores, prep work, and cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. With over 35 meals to choose from per week, including keto options, calorie smart, vegan plus veggie, and more, plus over 55 weekly add-ons, you'll have a ton of nutritious and flavorful options to kickstart your resolutions. Skip that overpriced takeout trap. Factor is cheaper and way more delicious than takeout. Get chef-crafted, restaurant-quality meals delivered right to your door, and they're ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes, which means more time for you. Head to factormeals.com/C350 and use the promo code C350 to get 50% off. That's code C350 at factormeals.com/C350 to get 50% off.
5, 4, 3, 2, 0. All engine running.
In a world where a dink and dunk offense is the standard, no one rises higher than the Carolina Panthers. Only one man can bring you such mediocrity. He goes by many names. We introduce him as Teddy Two Gloves, Teddy Turnovers, and a Bridgewater Band-Aid. But all we know is he has a Teddy BD. Welcome to Major Media Irrelevance. Welcome to Charlotte. Just kidding. Kind of. This has been a Blake B production. Keep pounding.
What's up, Panther fans? It's your boy, the Professor, a.k.a. Tony Dunn. It's the C3 Panthers podcast brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. Every Tuesday night, chopping up the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective. I do it each and every week with my homeboys, but first, before I get to them, big shout out to Blake Bettis for the surprise intro. Hopefully, you guys got the humor in a lot of that. People are already making fun of my hair. I just took a shower. All right, now let me introduce my homeboys. What's up, Cody Lashney? How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good, man. We're getting ready to have a battle of the big cats between the Panthers and the Detroit Lions. The season has not gone the way many people would have hoped, but we know that. And listen, man, we are your Panther psychiatric help, man. We're here every Tuesday night talking about the Carolina Panthers with the best fans in all of YouTube, Tony. And you know they're already here. Tim Tizzy, Brad Dugan, Blake Bettis. Shout out for the intro, man. Joey the Blind Panther Esquivel, C. Brad Dugan, Trill Warren, Michael Jones, Travis Haynes, Tony Dunn, and nothing to it but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
We got Greg, the man of many podcasts, a.k.a. the Bat Daddy, the Stat Daddy. What's up, Greg?
Not a whole lot, man. Brought some stats with me tonight. It's been a long week. I'm on a streak podcast.
It's Tuesday.
It's like 7 days in a row. So
your week doesn't end.
Yeah, I got the night off tomorrow.
Okay.
So we'll have the podcast tomorrow, but
no podcast tomorrow. And we've got the master of all streams, CK, in the house.
How's it going, boys?
Are you just running right out of the office and running into the podcast room?
You could say out of the office if you want, but it's same desk, same sitting situation, just transitioned computers.
Did you catch that intro, CK?
What is that?
Did you catch that intro?
What was
it? You gotta go back whenever.
I'll send it to you. Blake Bettis put together a little intro for Teddy BD.
All
right. I also want to we'll go ahead and get a shout out to mybookie.ag. You want to place a bet on, NBA basketball's approaching, right? You got all the news right now of the trades going on, so you can get pumped up for that. And then after Christmas, I assume that college basketball is coming back. But you've got the back end of the NFL season. You can go make some coin at my bookie. You use the promo code overtime. They'll match half your deposit since we're past halfway of the NFL season, up to $1,000. You put in $1,000, they'll give you $500 on top. You put in $100, they'll give you $50 on top. And then you go and you flip that and you flip that and you flip that and you have fun, or you do what I do. And as you just have fun, maybe a little sadness, and probably break about even. But anyway, you can go to mybookie.ag. You want to use the promo code overtime. You could bet the Panthers at the Lions. Let's check out what the line is right now. I'm going to mybookie myself. Mybookie.ag, promo code overtime. I'm on my breaking computer. Let's see what the Carolina Panthers odds are. NFL is always at the top. What are we, week 11? Week 11 odds.
Yeah, we are week 11.
Falcons are 5-point dogs to the Saints, and the Carolina Panthers. Where the hell is the game on the list?
Are we?
They
on
might not.
No, we have we're week 11, and we have a bye week in 2 more weeks.
Right. Okay, so we do play the Lions on the 22nd, right? So that is this week. They have not put out the line yet for the Carolina Panthers. You know what that means? They don't know which way it's going. Ooh.
That means that it all depends upon. I think they're waiting until they understand what's going on with Teddy B.
Yep, that's exactly right. So go to my bookie, promo code overtime. All right, the Carolina Panthers got shellacked by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I went back and watched the game today. And really, it was kind of to be expected. That's my point right now. It's really nothing surprising about a team that has a lot of offensive weapons, has a superior defense to put the whooping on. I think the fact is that the Carolina Panthers have been competitive in these games, and were competitive in that game in the first half, as well as competitive all throughout the season. That kind of gives us sort of I won't say a false sense, but a sense that any given Sunday type attitude. And now, really, the Panthers are on a 5-game losing streak, and you're seeing that it's tough to win when teams are more talented at this point. I don't know. Maybe I'm being a little too pessimistic here, but I don't think you could say we're an over-talented team on defense or on this offensive line. So, guys, the Carolina Panthers off the butt whooping to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Are you guys ready to say the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, despite losing to the Saints twice, are the best team in the NFC South? East? Whatever we are? NFC South?
NFC South. 100%.
Thank you.
NFC South.
Thank you.
No, I don't think so. No. In order to beat the man, you have to beat the man. And right now, the Saints win the division every year, and they've beaten Tampa Bay 2 times. And honestly, I trust Sean Payton more. Other than their fucking collapse every year, they've been in the playoffs every year with a consistent football team. I trust them more down the stretch than I do a brand new situation with Bruce Arians and Tom Brady and Antonio Brown and all this extra horse shit going on.
Did you see Antonio Brown is in trouble again?
Huh?
Antonio Brown had another incident.
No. What was it?
Yeah, it was just something that happened before he was signed, like right before, and it happened in Florida too, where it's alleged. It's alleged that he threw a bicycle at a security hut. I don't know if he's trying to get into place or something, and destroyed the security camera. So he threw a bicycle at Tom Brady's security guard's house.
It was the gated community security guard's shack. That's what it was.
Oh gosh, he can't. It's CTE, folks. He's crazy at this point. What do you think? I'm turning it over to the other fellas. Are the Saints the best in the division? And news that Drew Brees has got 5 broken ribs and a punctured lung. Jameis Winston likely to start. Taysom Hill fighting for a position at every position. Who's the best team in the NFC South right now?
If we're talking about this Sunday, it's going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If Drew Brees is not on that team, you can have Jameis Winston in there. You can have Taysom Hill in there. but it is a completely different team even when you guys want to go back and look at when Teddy Bridgewater, he won those 5 games, right? Even if you look at that 5-game stretch, they weren't the same team on offense. Like Teddy Bridgewater didn't necessarily elevate the people around him like Drew Brees does. So I think if Drew Brees is out of the equation, 100% it's going to be Tampa Bay.
People in the chat room are wondering about who we're going to play at quarterback. If we're going to play Will Grier or if we're going to go with PJ Walker.
PJ Walker, yeah.
Well, let's bring that up since we do bring the latest news and opinions from the fan perspective. The latest news is Teddy Bridgewater suffered an injury in the Sunday game. What have you guys heard about this injury and his status going forward this week?
So I've heard that it's an MCL sprain, that it is minor, which whatever that means, I don't know if it means it's going to be a problem for him going forward. But as of right now, he is day-to-day with a possibility of playing this Sunday. So, I don't know. And it's so weird, man. Like, listen, I think PJ Walker has had a lot of fans. Look, we already have fans in the chat screaming out PJ Walker and saying it's his time. And, man, listen, I don't know. Maybe it takes a new hand, a new set of eyes to be able to do something different on offense. Wouldn't it be something if Teddy sat and then PJ Walker comes in and does what he does in the
or if Teddy Bridgewater sits and we score 3 points, which is a real possibility.
Very possible too. Very possible.
And to give Teddy some credit is at the very minimum, we've moved the ball and been competitive at times. It's just that you know what I saw, you kind of see it against the Chiefs. You saw 2 weeks in a row what Teddy Bridgewater isn't. And that was on the other side of the ball, right? And I know that Tom Brady isn't the explosive quarterback that, that can put up all these points or whatever, but he's on a very talented team, and he's arguably the greatest quarterback in the history of football still. I mean, at this ever, right? And then you have Patrick Mahomes, who is clearly the best quarterback. Him and Russell Wilson fight for it every week. But we were ahead in both of those games, right? And it didn't feel like enough. Yeah. Like, is that you just knew that, and they both teams got back into it very quickly. The Panthers, if we fall behind, arguably, our game is just not suited to put points up quickly, right? And that is, I think, what the point that I think a lot of us have been making has been so far. But Teddy Bridgewater suffering this injury, I think the coach said that, I think he's going to play. I don't think it's that, is that things are, he should be able to play. If they don't play him, it's probably treating him with kid gloves a little bit. But do you guys want to see PJ Walker or do you want to see Will Grier?
Man, take that one, Greg. I don't know how I feel about
the only thing I know is the last time I saw Will Grier, it didn't look good. And last time I saw PJ the other day, it didn't look good either. But I know that I've seen PJ Walker has a damn rocket. That guy can chuck the ball 1,000 miles an hour. So I know he can get it downfield. So I'd like to see what our receivers could do with somebody that I know can get it downfield. But I have no idea how accurate he is. I know nothing about the guy other than I've seen him throw a few times and he throws a rocket. But either one really works for me, I guess. Because, like I said, I've seen Will Grier. Maybe there's a resurgence. Maybe he'll come out and play well. You never know.
CK?
Things happen. Stranger things happen.
Did he walk away?
CK, you there?
All right, Cody, who do you want to see? Because I think I want to see Will Grier.
Yeah, listen, I feel like we're all going to want to say Will Grier. And honestly, it should be Will Grier. Mm-hmm. Listen, it should be Will Grier. And I feel that if it is PJ Walker, then, again, that's even more of an indictment on the people making decisions on our football players. Again, so then there's this whole, I don't know how long you wanted to dedicate to this, but we picked up Tommy Stevens, the guy that we wanted that had a Joe Brady connection. He went to Penn State, and then the Saints picked, quarterback. Then the Saints picked him up, and then they cut him. We signed him off the practice squad, and today we cut him again. So it's like it feels like there's no rhyme or reason to the decision makings in our building, and the fact that we used the 100th pick in the draft on a quarterback. It could have been Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. It could have been a better player. And yet we took Will Grier, and Will Grier has yet to prove his worth to this football team.
But didn't we only see him one game last year? I'm just wondering. I'm not sure.
Yes.
Two, I think two. Yeah.
It was one and a half, something like that.
Couldn't beat out an undrafted Kyle Allen.
Right.
And was Will Grier the last year or the year before draft?
It was
Will
the year
Grier was
before.
in 2018.
With Galden and them. So last year would have been his second year, correct? Right. This is his third year, I think.
Mm-hmm.
No, in 2018 when we drafted DJ Moore.
Was last year his rookie year, really?
Yeah, last year. Because
okay.
Hold on. Someone tell us.
Yeah,
someone in the chat room.
Will Grier.
Remember, that's when I was saying that was David Tepper's insurance policy if anything were to happen to Cam Newton.
That's right. Okay, so it was last year. This would be his second year. I think the argument really is that if you don't, you're right. I just agree with you, Cody. Like, I have nothing to disagree with on this. Like you said, an indictment of really that it's been a busted pick if you don't choose to see what he's got a little bit. Second, you probably are looking to see at this point if he's just worthy to be a backup quarterback. To take a couple of snaps if somebody gets hurt for a little while, maybe start a game or two until the starter gets back. That type of backup quarterback. Not a backup quarterback you think you will be probably or likely grooming into the heir apparent. And on top of that, I think he's kind of old already. You know, I think he came out of college a little bit on the older side. So he's like going to be 20. He's probably only a year younger than Teddy or 2 years younger than Teddy.
Yeah, I think he's like 23, 24.
No, he was like 25 when he came out of college, I think.
He's 25 now. He was born in 95.
Yeah, because he went to Florida and tested positive for something and then had to transfer. And that's when he went to West Virginia.
So I think, CK, your thoughts if we had to trot out a quarterback, and I saw, it might have been Mike Jones, someone else said try both of them.
I mean, you could do that. Yeah. I mean, I think if they want to run the offense the same way New Orleans did, try to use, and you're not going to be able to do this to the exact extent, but try to use Will Grier at quarterback and then throw in PJ Walker as like a Taysom Hill type.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I don't think PJ Walker has the ability to play. You know, Taysom Hill's a big boy. You know what I'm saying? Like
Walker's pretty big too, isn't he?
No, he's tiny as all get out.
Tiny. Is he?
Yeah, he looks tiny out there. I think it's almost. I think you kind of know more what you have with PJ Walker, right? Yeah. I mean, I think you just kind of know is that you've seen him play in the XFL. Matt Rule's coached him in the past. You know that he's a mobile quarterback that can throw on the move and has an arm, undersized, and just is raw and potentially could be refined as a super project. But the idea that you are kind of investing a lot in PJ Walker, he ain't going nowhere, right? I think the question is, just with Will Grier, is whether or not you should just part ways with him. And there was a lot of draft capital put into him, and we have parted ways with other picks that were drafted in that range, Rashad Golden being one, or Rashad Golden, whatever his name was. The idea, though, is how long do we keep him around? And I don't think Stevens was brought in to potentially be a quarterback. I think there's some people saying that some people thought he could be a tight end. Can you believe that? Crazy.
A tight end?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
No.
Anyway, CK, final thoughts on PJ Walker. Actually, more about Will Greer and how the organization. And one thing we didn't other mention is that it's under the sort of previous regime. Although Marty Herney's around, this is not a Matt Rule, Joe Brady guy. When do they, what do you think is going to happen? What should happen?
I don't think that they have clearly not chosen between the two, right? Because one week it's Will Greer, the next week it's PJ Walker that's active or inactive. And I think that right now, and I mentioned it early in the season when we were talking about who is our backup. I don't know that we have a specific one in mind, because the reality is, even if you take the 2 games that or even game and a half or whatever it was last year that he started, I mean, you were throwing him to the Wolves, even though we were all calling for it. You threw that guy to the Wolves, and until you give an opportunity to actually face a team with a good team, or at least a good offense, you're not really going to know. Last year, we did not have a good offense. Our offensive line.
We didn't have a good anything.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a great situation to be thrown into. And again, at that point in time, it was against a decent defense, and that was the Saints, right? Didn't we play him against the Saints?
I'm looking.
I can't remember. I think he got hurt too, or something. Like, he didn't play very much, because then we went to, or maybe he was the third option. Do you remember we had Tyler something?
No,
Taylor Heineke.
Taylor Heineke. Yeah, he was.
Didn't we have him play a game too last year?
He went to the XFL.
2018. Yeah. By the way, I wanted to make an amendment to something I said earlier. We didn't, in fact, release Tommy Stevens. He's still on the team. We released Seth DeValve. I don't know how my mind got Tommy Stevens out of that. But again, it's how much are we even going to see him used? So I don't know. I think that we're kind of hurting at the quarterback position all the way around. I mean, honestly, from our starter down, I don't have a lot of faith in the quarterback position for the Carolina Panthers.
I got to say, Cody, you missed the real opportunity for a real zinger of a joke. And CK said this. CK said, we have not decided on who our backup quarterback is. That was his question. And I was trying not to steal your thunder, but I was going to say, Cody thinks it's dang Teddy Bridgewater. And we could go and get the Teddy Bridgewater be backing up the rookie in the draft. No, I have some thought.
Hey, you're not wrong. You're definitely not wrong. But yeah, you should have just said that, and then you would have gotten the credit for that joke. You did it.
I still get the credit for the joke.
Yeah, you still get the credit for the joke.
Yeah, we haven't decided. I agree. Is that this is an evaluation year. Matt Rule said it over and over.
Yeah.
So I don't know why you wouldn't be interested in evaluating, the guy that potentially could be the backup next year or the year after.
He's seen a few snaps of PJ Walker in the NFL now. He has not seen that of Will Greer. He can go back and look at tape all he wants, but it's not his offense. It's not his team. So, I mean, he said, like, even at the beginning when people were asking him who's going to win that starting job or that backup job, he said, I haven't seen anybody. I haven't seen either of them play. Now he's seen PJ Walker play. I think if Teddy Bridgewater's out, I think you see him try to test out Will Greer.
Yeah. Okay. See, any other news surrounding this week and the team? The Shaq Thompson. Curse him out, Shaq Thompson. All right, so right now, I guess there's nothing on. It's a slow news week right now when it comes to the Carolina Panthers, and arguably a slow news year. Here is the most interesting note about all of this. Guess the story on Panthers.com is the day after Shaq Thompson's speech. Guess who, or the author is Darren Gant. Darren Gant used to be right for now. Darren Gant is a well-known Panthers sports reporter. He has been following the team from like back. I mean, like, and it's been from Greensboro or something. He used to work with like old Charlotte newspapers, and then he went to Pro Football Talk with Matt Florio and all of them. He would come on, he comes on, or used to come on WFNZ a lot. He goes on a lot of radio stations. He's he's super funny, but the problem with Darren Gant, and I think he's a reputable sports reporter. The only thing is that I don't like about Darren Gant is that he laughs at his jokes harder than anybody else, and he never laughs at anybody. Like, he always thinks he's the funniest or the wittiest person in the room. Darren Gant wrote that. That's interesting. I just noticed that. Anyway, cornerback Rasul Douglas reported or noted after the game, he said Shaq Thompson basically cursed everybody out and said we didn't fight hard enough, and then ultimately challenged his team to fight it out going forward, right? And what do you guys think about this? I have some important thoughts about the Shaq Thompson motivation speech, but on top of that, there immediately became a lot of chatter on Twitter that was Shaq Thompson curses team out after game where he missed his gap assignments and struggled to tackle or something. But, your thoughts? What is Shaq doing here? He is been deemed the leader of this team by default, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess so. And like I said, I really like the mindset, and I like the idea of him doing this, and I want somebody to be there that's motivated to do that. But I don't think Shaq Thompson has the credentials to be that guy. I mean, I don't think he's able to call other people out. Like you said, he had a good game this weekend. He had a few good tackles, the forced fumble, but he didn't play great. You know,
I think he has to. I mean, but somebody has. I mean, like, who else is going to do it? You know, you can't have tired Whitehead do it.
He's wearing
who on the defense is going to really?
Whitehead wearing the C? Why not?
I think that's. I can't believe that. Yeah, sometimes they wear that. I don't know. Actually, I have nothing to say about that other than somebody should go up to him and snatch it off of him and see what happens.
Yeah. So, I mean, now and I look at Shaq Thompson very differently, because I think that last year we had to pick between two people. Did we want to pay Shaq Thompson, or did we want to pay James Bradbury? Because we weren't going to pay both of them. And I think that we're being shown we made the wrong decision. Like, let's be real. He can get on the team all he wants, but he really hasn't been an impact player for us in all the time that we've drafted him to be here. And in a year where we have lost a franchise legend in Luke Kuechly, he was supposed to be the pillow that eased the blow of the drop-off. And frankly, he has not been that. And he has not been that veteran leader that we want in the middle of our defense, and we thought that's what he was going to do. So I think first maybe he needs to criticize himself a little bit, and then dispense that to everyone else, because I think I speak a little bit for all of us in that we've been very whelmed by his performance this year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wearing his jersey right now, and I'm sad to say it, is that like, he's not one of my favorite players on the team. And, you know, I tried to root for him. I tried behind all the, you're behind Luke Kuechly, you're behind Thomas Davis, and when he comes in and he plays in a rotational capacity, sometimes he was like looking explosive and making great plays, and other times he wasn't. And I tried to say, well, that's just because he doesn't have enough reps and he's not in rhythm and he doesn't really know what his role is. And when he gets there, I've tried and tried and tried, and I really I don't. Right now, I have limited amount of jerseys I can wear. I can't wear any teal color jersey because in the green screen I turn invisible. So I got to wear either a black jersey, so I can wear a Cam jersey, a Steve Smith jersey, or this Shaq Thompson jersey, or my Steve Berline jersey. All the other ones are out. because of the teal colors. And I gotta say, this is I'm glad this is a China version of the Shaq Thompson jersey. I'm glad that this isn't the 150 and this was the 50.
Yeah, I mean, we've all been disappointed with his play, man. And we're going to have to draft a linebacker soon, I think.
There is something good and important about this moment, though. And although we have been whelmed, like you said, excellent usage of the word with Shaq Thompson has been whelming. This was despite who it came from, I think this is a necessary moment to double down on the team effort and the players continue to generate that expectation and that enthusiasm and that energy. And the reason being is that right now we're on a 5-game losing streak. You know, you kind of had maybe a little, I won't say a little beginner's luck. You know, is that we won 3 in a row. We've been competitive. We're all kind of happy with the badness. Like, it's like tolerable. That's why their podcast listens are down. That's why there's no stories on Panthers.com. There's like nothing. It's just whelming and expected. The problem is that 5-game slide could turn into an 8-game, right? A 9-game, right? A 10-game. And you don't, or whatever it is, or how many games there are left. What are there? 5 more games left?
No, 7 more weeks, so 6 more games left for everybody, right? Yeah.
So we've played 10 games.
To be truly honest with you,
we've played 10 games, right? We're 3-7, so we've got 6 left and a bye week. There is, or right, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16.
I wonder if anyone in Panther Nation, and by the way, that means any of you on this podcast, any of our fans in the chat, has anyone even looked up what it would take for this current team to make the playoffs?
Like, I don't even think it's worth their time. Right? Is the Saints and the Bucks, the division's out of hand, and then you look to the NFC West and you see the Rams, who are, you know, put together a good week last week. Their defense is pretty good, and you don't know what you're.
The Rams, the Cardinals, and the Seahawks are all tied right now, I think.
And all 3 of them could come out of that division with the new playoff spot, right?
And then you've got the Vikings that are sort of surging. Right? Right? Is that, I mean, you're going to get Green Bay in that division. You're going to get, say, whoever the hell wins the East. I don't know who that is. Maybe it's the Giants. Who knows?
Basically, what that all amounts to is we're already at the point where we're hoping that we lose every game going forward to secure a better draft pick, man.
But that's why I think this speech and where it came from is very important to the squad. Because if you finish the season on a 10-game losing streak, despite getting a better draft pick, that gets the stink on the players in that locker room. It really doesn't, and this was the one credit to Ron Rivera teams for a long time, or at least in the first 6 or 7 years of his tenure, it felt like. And that was, we finished strong, right? So I think it's important to have to not lose the team, and I don't think that losing the team is always on the coaches. Like, I think the players not give up, but can lose that. And that's why I think this is an important moment. I think Shaq recognized that this is a moment, much like CK and Greg have alluded to, that was very similar to the San Francisco game last year. And you don't want it to get away from us, right? You want to be working on the positives, that we're losing, but we're getting better. That's why I think this is a good speech.
And by the way, if you're on the football field, and so I do think there is some merit to what you're saying. If you're on the football field and you see your teammates And you have 5 teammates that are giving all their effort, and then the other 6 are just dicking around, either not knowing what they're doing, not knowing their assignments, being out of position. Then it's like, man, why am I out here busting my ass if these lame brains are just missing tackles, not doing their job? Yeah, man, it's not just on the coaches to keep the team motivated. I mean,
Right.
I think part of the accountability of a team sport is just that you hold each other accountable. If I don't do my job, then you're not able to do your job well. I mean, imagine how upset you are if you're someone like Shaq Thompson, for example, right? And Tarir Whitehead's supposed to seal a gap behind you, but he's just not in position and just doing all kinds of wrong shit. Yeah, that has an effect on everyone around you, and it can be debilitating, I would imagine.
It can, but like we said before, if you're a guy like Shaq Thompson who's missing gaps in the games you're calling the people out for, you can't
Right.
you can't really do that. I mean,
But he hasn't been terrible. He just has been whelming. It's
Here's the
like
thing with Shaq. Here's the thing with Shaq with this. He had his best game of the year, and now he felt empowered to be able to.
that's a very good point.
Shot
That's a very good point,
fired.
Yeah.
That's an excellent point. That's hard to argue with that. He's been kind of quiet at that point. I do think it's a tipping point, right? Or maybe not a tipping point, but a momentum point, and a bad momentum point. You don't want it to go the wrong way. All right, guys, you're listening to C3 Panthers podcast. Go ahead and smash the thumbs up button. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Hit the little bell notification. Interact with us on Twitter. You can follow me at @cat_chronicles and can be a part of the show by calling in. The number's 252-228-5098. That's 252-228-5098. Let's go ahead and jump into the cat calls and start pounding through this. We'll let you guys take over the show.
So what are your thoughts on catcalling?
Yeah,
I'm going to go refill my beer.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like
Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in the snow? Who's that kid that can use one?
What's up, guys? Name's Zach. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Usually listen on Apple Podcasts, so never been in the chat room or anything. But I just wanted to say, I actually think we're headed in the right direction. I think with the ownership, I think he's shown he wants to win, mainly about what he did with Matt Rule. I think Matt Rule's actually done a phenomenal job with this team. I don't know, man. I think, this is my thing. When was the last time going into any given Sunday we looked at a position group and we're like, yeah, we've got an advantage at that position group? This year we might say, okay, running back when Christian's in there. And I know we would say it at quarterback when Cam was here. But,
Wide receiver.
I mean, I don't think we have an advantage other than maybe when Christian's in at any position group this year. I mean, definitely none on defense. I mean, our defensive line, we've got a couple guys that as a whole we don't have an advantage there, I don't think. I don't know. I do think we're headed in the right direction, though. I think we're going to turn it around. I also think Marty Herney's got to get the fuck out of here. But, hey, I think we're headed in the right direction, and we'll see where it goes. Y'all have a good one.
Zach, thanks for your support. Like to hear where you guys are listening at. Thanks for calling in. First-time caller, hopefully continual caller. Likes the direction we're heading. I think he's right. We have limited parts. And he is on your team, Cody. Get away from Marty Herney.
Yeah, man, we need to fire him. And before sometime around the end of the season, I'm going to come out with a foolproof list of every reason to fire Marty Herney. And it'll be premium content, I promise you. But, yeah, man, I do. He made a great point, Tony, in that we don't have one position group on our football team that we're just super stoked about. It used to be, man, we have the best linebackers in the NFL. Shaq Thompson with Thomas Davis, led by Luke Kuechly. We had one of the best linebacking cores in the NFL. And he was like, we don't have one position group that's really of note or
What about
stands out
running back?
amongst the crowd. And he did mention CMC, and but yeah, outside, yeah, we have a star running back.
We have a star running back, and we've got a solid backup in Mike Davis. We just don't know how to use them both together, and one struggling with injury, or both of them.
But, and to a point that I made, I think before the show, like, I don't feel as though we have one player on our football team where if they're on the football team or on the field, we have a chance to win. And I genuinely.
Well, I don't know if you can. What teams other than all right? So take away quarterback.
Okay.
Right.
I think Aaron Donald probably changes the game. I think Jalen Ramsey does. I think what Khalil Mack does probably. I think so. If we're not doing quarterback,
so you're just saying we don't have a superstar. That's really a better way of saying it, because no, I don't believe. I think you put Aaron Donald on a bad defense and a bad offense, it don't matter. I don't think that one play. I think that's too much to ask. I think what you're more saying is we don't have a superstar that can collectively be built around, and I'm saddened for you to say that, because I thought you were going to say I thought it was Brian Burns. I thought it was Christian McCaffrey. I thought those are our superstars.
They are, but I mean, they've been on the football team the past 2 years, and we've had a losing record. So
we've got a shitty team. That's like a straw man's argument, dude.
No, but even more than that. Okay, right now, neither of those two equal what Luke Kixley meant to us, because it's like one of the things that we're seeing is even if we didn't have the best talent on the football field, Luke was going to make sure, one, that you played your ass off, and two, that you were in the right position. So overall, that meant so much to our defense.
But Aaron Donald doesn't do that for the Rams.
That is a superstar game changer that changes our chances on the field. And right now, no one else has been that for us, and we don't have that player on our roster right now.
So, Cody, I want to go back and ask you the question I was talking to you about before we even started recording tonight. Then, because I want you to explain that to the fans too, because I want to hear it again as well. If we don't have the future quarterback, and we're not going to draft a quarterback this draft, and you don't see any players we can build a franchise around, what future? Why do you have a bright outlook in the future for Matt Rule and Joe Brady's tenure if there's no bright spot on the team? Do you think the players we have are supportive enough that if we got maybe 2 or 3 key pieces, we could be a competitive, solid team, like in the mix? Or do you think that we're just not even that close? Because if we're not even that close, I just don't see how. I know you explained it. I don't see how in 1 year we can turn that around. Did you freeze up, Cody?
Good. Sorry, Cody.
He's deep in thought right now.
I tell you what, I'm glad he's deep in thought, because it doesn't make it's like kind of it's too much of an expectation. I think this is we have Christian McCaffrey, who is that star. We do. We have the top running back in the league.
Yeah.
And the only reason he's not the top running back is he's missed 5 games, and he's been durable to this point. So it's not like he's just been injury prone. On top, I mean, the other thing is Alvin Kamara is having that type of year, is having the best year ever, almost, it feels like. At least for my fantasy team. This motherfucker kills it every damn week, man. But I think that it's kind of like, I think that that's an expectation that's a little too high to have. And the only way you can have that is if you give him what he really wants. What Cody really wants is the next Patrick Mahomes. Or the next Aaron Rodgers.
Expectation out there, but I'm just wondering how you feel good about the future if we're not anywhere close.
All right, we're young. All right, I'll give you some reasons we should feel good about the future. Number 1, we're young.
That's the reason he mentioned, yeah.
Number 2, we're competitive in these games. We are competitive. Number 3, somewhat, I think that we have some real pieces that can be built upon. And I think that is... I do think Robbie Anderson is a guy that can, man, if you went and you somehow drafted what turns out to be like the next Megatron. You know what I'm saying? And you put him beside Robbie Anderson, all of a sudden you got the best damn receiving core in the league. I think on top of that, like if you give Christian McCaffrey, I would say this: if you gave, I don't know, if you gave our offensive line, how about this? If you built a strong offensive line, we could be competitive from week to week. And I think the only way you're really going to flip the defense, like to what position on defense really commands that?
I think you need to have one superstar at each level of defense, and then you can be legitimately competitive and have. You don't have to have superstars around you, but if you can
so what do we need? We need a superstar corner
and one superstar lineman.
We need a superstar corner. That's what we need, because really, where else in the league? I feel like we overly appreciate linebackers.
I think we've taken them for granted the last.
We have
10 years,
probably, but we've always had good ones.
Yeah.
But what other teams? Name the teams in the league where you're like, oh god, their defense, we can't fuck with them. They got the best linebacker. I can't. I don't even know. Who is it?
Seattle was like that for a while. Baltimore,
but they're not anymore. Baltimore, like I can't name it. Who are they? I don't know.
Usually have a pretty legit defense.
I just don't know the player that would meet Cody's expectation. And I would say the closest, like the Trevathan, like there's some Chicago linebackers that I felt like were always super high. That, coming out of the draft, people like this. I think probably the best linebackers are on the damn Bucks. Other than that, I think that I just think what Cody is saying, we don't have an excitement factor. I don't think that's what he's saying. I know he doesn't say that's what he's saying, but I think that's what is the better way of putting it. We don't have a wow factor just yet.
I must have said something to him, man. He hung up.
He quit.
Screw this.
Where did he go?
I don't know. He froze up. I'm not sure what happened.
He left. All right. Let's go to the next. CK, you got anything to say about that?
Nope.
All right.
I mean, Queen from Baltimore.
Okay.
What's the guy from Indianapolis? Leonard? He's pretty good.
Yeah, Darius Leonard.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
All right. Next call.
What's up, guys? This is part two. I just want to clarify something I said earlier. Obviously, this year fucking sucks. What I mean by saying we're headed in the right direction is I think it's going to take time. It's obviously something we're not going to fix this year. But I do think in the long run, give it a few years, we are headed in the right direction. My biggest fear, honestly, is I don't want to get this team stuck in 6-10 purgatory where that's all we fucking do every year. And, we're never improving draft picks. We're never, we're just kind of stuck in that range. I would honestly rather just be terrible for a year or two and then, slowly get better. But again, like y'all said on the podcast, I want to see improvement every week in the players. And then, come the off season, I want to see the team upgraded as a whole. We'll see this coming off season what they do. I hope it's good. And once again, you fellas have a good one. Appreciate what you do. And talk to y'all later.
Man, thanks for the call again, Zach. We appreciate it. And turns out Zach is really Cody in disguise. That's why Cody left. He had to make another call. That's just Cody right there saying we got, the 6-10 purgatory. That's scariness. What we've been in
for the last few years. We're for a 4 to 7 win team every year for the last 4 or 5 years.
No. When 2017 we were good. We were good in 2017. We were bad 2016. I think 10 yeah. We're 11-5. That was the year we beat the Patriots on the road. Then we went and beat the Lions. Cam threw 5 touchdowns against the Lions. He led a comeback against the Patriots. We were good that year.
Okay.
But, all right, one other thing, though, is interesting. I wish Cody was here. What do you guys, people were making fun of me on the round table because they were saying that the AFC East was just so bad. And I said, I don't think that. I think you just say that because we're used to saying that. But right now the Bills are 7-2. The Bills now probably fell since that round table 7-3. But the Dolphins are on a 5-game winning streak. The Patriots are a god-awful team that has a record better than the Panthers. So it's really
half part of it.
So I've been interested in this Dolphins team. You know, while we're on a 5-game losing streak, the Dolphins are on a 5-game winning streak, and Tua's been part of that magic there. So I wish I could get Cody's thoughts on Tua and his contribution. That is he the guy? Does he meet his excitement level expectation?
I need to look up his stats.
You know, no, is it like he's been okay? I mean, he's only played 2 games. He's only started 2 games, but they've won both of them.
Well, I know the first game he didn't play well, but he played well enough to win. He
didn't have to play well because their defense has been tremendous. But to Cody's point as well, on the other flip side of that coin, you have a Bears team where they can't do anything. They can't win a game to save their life. Last night they won on defense. They won on special teams. They won in every aspect except for they couldn't score. Right? I mean, they stopped the run. They limit. You know, I mean, they were winning the battles except for the points one. And so I think there is something to it. All right, 252-228-5098.
C3, what it do? It's your boy Mike.
What's up, Mike?
Hey. Supreme Leader!
Supreme Leader!
I'm just kidding. It's Jason from Colorado. It's so much fun to do.
He got me!
I didn't get a chance to talk about last week's game on the post game, so I kind of want to just kind of break down the team by position groups, I suppose. The offensive line is bad. It's holding us back. I think that everyone can see it. We have been spending premium draft quality or capital on it, and it shows. You know, we really only have one quality starter on that line. One thing I did see is that Pat Elflein was just released by the Vikings. Now I know he's not a rock star, may not even be, a starter on most teams, but according to Pro Football Focus, which I know is a controversial topic, but I mean, that's a 20-point advantage over Chris Reed. Chris Reed is that bad. He's in the 40s on Pro Football Focus, whereas Elflein's in the 60s. So, I mean, I feel like it's at least worth looking at because, I mean, at the very minimum, he's a veteran who doesn't hold as much. Also, as far as the offensive line is concerned, last week, I think it was Greg mentioned that the numbers don't support Teddy Bridgewater being better than Kyle Allen. Now, I don't think Teddy's the guy. I'm not choosing that hill to die on, but I'm wondering if the numbers that don't support Teddy being better could kind of be subtextual. And that's kind of my point, is that what if I think that our offensive line's surprising performance this season could be the product of Teddy Bridgewater. I think that the one thing that Teddy has consistently done well this season, and it's navigate the pocket and climb the pocket and being able to avoid pressure and not give up sacks in that or pressure, being able to get the ball out under pressure. And it's also something that Kyle Allen was absolute garbage at, and even Cam Newton wasn't very good at. And I'm wondering if
I agree.
That the surprising effectiveness of our offensive line couldn't be attributed to Teddy Bridgewater making them look better than they're actually playing. And so I wonder what your thoughts are about that. Moving on to the wide receivers, you were kind of talking about which, in the post game, which wide receivers do you keep? We got 3 good ones. And Tony, I think you made the right point that their skill sets largely overlap. And I think that when you look at offenses around the league who have talented wide receiver cores, not just talented, but exceptional.
All right, so let's and he's going to call in and get to the next point, finish that point up. Let's talk momentarily about that offensive line. The offensive line has wavered, or at least this, is that you get a couple of different positions on it. You get the Teddy Bridgewater supporters who, or lovers, stands, whatever the right word is, that this offensive line is trash and nobody can do it. Then you get the other side, which is me, which is that this offensive line has been far better than I expected. And a little bit better than I'm accustomed to. And that's not a good thing. I'm not bragging about that. And there's probably the truth somewhere lies in the middle perspective, which is the offensive line is probably played a little bit better than we're used to, given the fact that we didn't know who is going to be playing what, who any of these guys were. They're dealing with injury. But also that Bridgewater makes, and the scheme elevate, and makes, kind of bails them out, makes them look a little bit better. Instead of downfield routes developing the kind of in many ways what we thought the North Turner offense was going to be, kind of what the Shula offense was, is that you were either running RPOs or you were throwing deep, it felt like, and that it was like these deep drops and Cam was getting murdered back there. Teddy Bridgewater gets the ball out fast. He gets probably the only person that gets it out faster than him is the guy that he learned under, or he's mentored under for the last couple of years, and that's Drew Brees. So I think there is something to that. Probably the truth lies in the middle a little bit. How do the Panthers go forward? Is this is the offensive line something that's going to be piecemealed and fixed in that process, or is it going to take a more radical kind of surgery? And maybe that is the application of the Taylor Moton drug, right? Weekly doses of Taylor Moton coupled with an experimental draft pick at the top. That might really what we need, just as much as a quarterback is an anchor somewhere on that offensive line. And I know the first round isn't going to be a center pick, but we haven't given it much in draft capital. We haven't put a lot of down. We haven't put a lot of money into it. So the Panthers, if you're picking at 10, 11, 9, and you can't get that quarterback that you truly feel, instead of reaching after that in a draft where a lot of quarterbacks are going early, maybe this is the year that you work towards that and you start to solidify that so you can be more diverse going forward.
Yeah.
CK?
I mean, I don't. So the funny part about that entire phone call is the fact that Chris Reed is rated 40 by PFF. He's rated 40, like out of 100. Like he's rated at a 40 rating, like on PFF. That just unbelievable, because what it tells me is
he said 60. I thought.
No, 60 is for the guy that Minnesota just released.
Oh, okay. So he was talking about the Minnesota guy, and you're talking about a guy that's on our team.
Reed. Yeah, Chris Reed. And so that's our guard. And so I'm like, if we don't make a move, I'll tell you why that is. It's because right now they're going to be basically focusing on next year. And not that it's saying that they're going to try to go out and lose, but I don't think this coaching staff is going to be making moves to try to win. Like pulling people in from, other teams
this year or next year?
This year.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, even though the Minnesota just released that guy, I don't think we're going to be making those types of moves.
Hello.
Hey, Cody Lashney.
Welcome
Dude,
back.
how about my fucking cat tripped my surge protector? And so literally, I had to turn everything back on.
Lies. You know what it really was? Is we know what's happened. You are truly Zach, the caller, and you called in a second time to talk about how Marty Herney needed to be fired and that you didn't want 6 and 10 purgatory anymore. Anyway, we've been having a riveting discussion about the Panthers' offensive line going forward, and now we're about to continue that riveting discussion. Any further points before we move on to the wide receiver part of the call, and we're going to finish the call out?
I wanted to commend him for the counter to the argument that we were having about the offensive line being terrible, about him saying maybe it's Teddy Bridgewater making the offensive line look a little better, and that's very possible. I mean, it's like,
they're not making them look worse, right? That getting the ball quick is the dink and dunk game that we have been like crying about in one hand is the way to nullify a shitty offensive line and still pass the ball. And in one way, we're really just running the ball in passing format. That's kind of what our offense seems to be a little bit at times. All right, let's keep going with the calls.
Well, I was saying is
what
the
to
most
do.
elite wide receiver cores seem to have that variety that you were talking about. In that you look at teams like, I would say Seattle, where Tyler Lockett is the speedster who can take
oh
the
my
top
gosh,
off.
and he's amazing. We could have drafted him, by the way,
big
way back
body
in the
wide
day.
receiver. Now that doesn't mean he's not fast and he can't blow the top off of it, but their skill sets are different. They're complementary. They work together. They're synergistic. And I think that those traits are what we should try to strive for. The Atlanta Falcons are another good one. Julio Jones is a freak of nature, but he's still, he's really tall. He's really fast. He gives you a huge catch radius, and he comes down with the ball. And so we need to find ourselves a receiver like that, like a Michael Thomas, who maybe isn't that fast, but who's reliable and clean in his routes.
Who's a red zone
so
threat,
we can get separation in close quarters, because that's what you need in the red zone. It's the ability to separate in close contact.
Honestly, Bryant-like player.
All three of our wide receivers, I think Curtis Samuel is the best at getting separation quickly from the defenders. And so I don't know. I'm not necessarily saying that I would pick Curtis Samuel out of the three wide receivers to keep, but I think that we certainly need to. We can't keep all three of them. I think that Curtis Samuel is probably the best trade target at the moment. And that pains me to say. I love Curtis Samuel, and I really want. I wish. Part of me hopes that he stays around as a Panther, but the worst possible thing that could happen is that we have to cut him and not get anything for him. So
I think that's going to happen. I don't think we get to trade him anymore.
Moving on, I guess the last thing that I wanted to talk about is the general manager argument. I don't think that we've actually, before I go there, I wanted to give a shout out to before I forget about it. Brian Burns is my guy. I finally got my Brian Burns jersey. I'm super excited. Seeing him get the guys fired up on the sideline was a balm to my aching heart.
I love Brian.
And after the game, I was reading in an interview, I think it was with Rasul Douglas, when he was saying that huge 98-yard Jones run was that they knew exactly what play they were going to do, and Shaq called it out in the play 30 times, and the players simply did not execute. The line was supposed to crash and seal that gap, and they didn't do that. Because they were crashing to the right side, they blitzed from that side, and that meant that's why that huge hole was there. And Trey Boston can't tackle. I've been saying it all season long, Trey Boston can't tackle.
He
can play the ball in the air. He's a good coverage guy, but he cannot stack the box. He can't tackle running back.
He was.
And so I think that it really.
This is I don't even get upset about people like when it comes to Trey Boston and some different things like this. Even Teddy Bridgewater. I went back and looked at the game. Even the outcome of that Bucs game, Cody, they are what we said they were. They are who we thought they were. They is who they are. And it turns out Tired Whitehead is who he is, and Raider fans tried to tell us. In fact, every time I talked to Raider fans, and I thought it was like, oh, y'all just Raider fans, one, and two, I thought, man, y'all just casual, a little casual or something like that fan. And no, they were right on. And you know what? They never even ever said anything mean. They just said, in fact, I think I got the same exact response from every Raider person I talked to, and that was, have fun with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's all. It was just like, all right, good luck with that. To just kind of continue on that wide receiver discussion. One is we cannot trade Curtis Samuel anymore unless we sign and trade, which that's not going to happen because he is in the final year of his contract. Interesting note here. Curtis Samuel is only 24 years old. Yeah. He has been in the league for 4 years now. He's 24 years old. I think he's playing as hard as you can get. I think it's clear he's playing to get signed somewhere. And I think he should. I agree with the call, is that like he probably is the best or one of the better ones. Go ahead, CK.
I don't think they let him walk. I think he's a big part of what they want to have this offense to look like moving forward.
So how much are you paying them? How much are you paying them then?
I don't know, but but we've paid. Will he take a deal like some of these other? Will he take a Robbie Anderson like deal?
But how many receivers? How many receivers are you going to pay? And by the way, again, man, I don't care if I'm the.
Well, you gotta pay some. I mean, you gotta pay them. You know what I'm saying? It's like when we say pay him, it doesn't mean make him a top paid receiver. It just makes him a 2 wide out. Let's just see, like Robbie Anderson.
It's the same conversation that I had, or that we were having a few weeks ago. You have to look at it like this. Do you want to pay Taylor Moton? Okay, good. You're going to have to pay him top tackle money in order to keep him, especially when you need every other offensive line position, right? Okay, factor that in. Then you're going to have to pay a receiver. Who are you picking, Curtis Samuel or DJ Moore? Because there's no way we're going to pay both. Like, does anyone think that we're going to re-up on Anderson, Moore, and Curtis Samuel? Like, that just isn't happening. That's why I was pounding the table.
Do you know we could cut Robbie Anderson next year? Holy cow. You sign him to a deal like Robbie Anderson, maybe. You can cut Robbie. This is crazy. We're not going to. And if we do, I'll be pissed. But Robbie Anderson, you save $8 million next year if you cut him. And you only end up with $4 million in dead. That's cheap. $12 million. That's not much for a wide receiver. What if you paid 2 wide receivers that type of money? Is that too much?
I don't think you're getting 2 superstar wide receivers that kind of money.
Let's see pick another team. Who's another team who's the model?
Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones.
Well, Calvin Ridley's on a rookie contract. Yeah. And
okay.
Yeah.
My thing is this. I would not spend a lot of money on the receiver position, knowing how many come out in the draft that end up being damn good receivers. I mean, listen, if Curtis wants to take a shorthand deal to stay here, fine. But if I'm going to pay one of them, I'd rather spend money on DJ Moore than anyone else. And
I don't think we should pay DJ Moore. Why do you guys think we should pay DJ Moore?
Here's the part about it. More. DJ, well, that could be debatable at this point. He's kind of went backwards, since the season started. Curtis Samuel was clearly taking a bigger role in this offense outside of last week with those 2 big runs. But I mean, I like DJ Moore and I want him to keep both. But you were looking for an example. Go up to Buffalo and look at Stephon Diggs and what Beasley's making.
Okay, so let's check that. I'll check that. Let's go to part 3 of the call.
It's great to see that those guys are becoming vocal leaders on the defense. That's something that we've missed for a long time, and I'm glad to see it coming back. Maybe that means we can take that C patch off of Whitehead's jersey and ship him off to Buffalo, because I guess that's what happens when the Carolina Panthers fans are done. The last thing that I wanted to talk about again was the general manager discussion. I kind of brought it up before, and it led to some pretty vitriolic discussion. But I feel like y'all kind of missed the point that I was trying to make, is that you kind of undersell the relationship between the general manager and the head coach. And I think that the thesis statement, if you could call it that, from my last call was that if you scheme poorly and draft accordingly, that's not on the GM. I think that when you look at Marty Hurney, I think the best criticism of him is him overspending on contracts, and that was more true definitely during his first tenure with the Panthers. And really, that came down to, this is a bit of a history dive. I'm a history nerd, so this is the kind of stuff I get off on. But when he signed Jake Delhomme, to that massive 5-year contract at the end of, I think it was 2008, and then or it was going into 2008, and then in that season, Del Ohm got hurt, never came back, and we wound up having a detriment at quarterback. And it's the same situation that we had with C-Mac. We paid him a bunch of money, and then he went out and got hurt. Except it's a much more exacerbated problem when it's your quarterback, because you can't lean on anybody else. When the running back isn't you can put another running back in there, you can use your wide receivers, you can scheme them out, but when you're your quarterback, you're dependent on them. And so with Del Ohm out and still paying him all this money, that meant they were forced to enter the draft needing to draft a quarterback. And of course, this was the year that we traded away our first round pick. And so we were forced to draft a quarterback in the second round. And so it's never a good thing to draft according to need in any point, especially at the most important position in football. And, that's what Dave Gettleman said about Josh Norman, is that when he rescinded the franchise tag and they let him go, then he had to draft according to need, and that's when when your players don't work out, and those are the decisions that get you fired. And Jimmy Clausen was garbage, absolutely shit the bed, one of the worst Panthers seasons ever. But silver lining did set us up for drafting Cam. So 2011, the offense looks okay. 3 700-yard rushers between Cam, D'Angelo, and Jay Stewart. The defense, worse than the league. We're absolutely garbage. 2012, this is still Marty Harney's tenure.
All right, final part.
So, just summing up, 2011, Harney signs Cam. 2012, we draft Luke. We draft Josh Norman. We trade for Greg Olson. And the 2012 season looks almost exactly like ours, with Carolina staying close but losing until they played I think it was the Eagles. It was the Super Bowl champs, and they just got absolutely dick punched. And then Hurney got fired. And this is when Rivera went 1-5 to open his second season. Gettleman then takes over, and it was a rough salary cap situation, largely due to the Del Ohm signing. And then he got a lot of credit for cleaning up the salary cap, but he really was relying on the talent of picks that Hurney made to win, while cutting franchise players like Smitty and Josh Norman. Here's one of the things that y'all were talking about with Marty Hurney was that he's perfect. He was almost perfect on first round draft picks. And that's I think that's absolutely tremendous. But I don't think that that's something that every single GM can do. Here's Gettleman's first round picks. C-Mac, I would rate that an A+. He's fantastic. Vernon Butler,
that was nothing.
A D. You might even give it an F. He did make some contributions earlier in his career, but we cut him. He's garbage. Shaq, I'll give it a C until he proves me otherwise. He's an average starting linebacker. Kelvin Benjamin, I gave that one a D+ because he did have a phenomenal rookie season, but after that, absolutely nothing. And Starla Tulele, which he was great, underrated. I gave that one a B. I don't think it was, I think that there's other players who could do what he did, but that was a good pick in my mind. But I'm just trying to make the point is that other GMs don't even hit on all their first round
I agree.
So
I agree.
I do think that Marty Hurney is a good general manager, and I think that with him being paired with Coach Rule's vision, I think the two of them will be able to execute their vision and get good talent and personnel in here, and it's going to make the team a lot better.
I think
sorry for taking up so much of your time. I thank y'all for giving me a chance to get my thoughts out there.
Keep calling back, man. We appreciate it. We appreciate your support. We appreciate the contribution, and I agree. I've been trying to tell you guys this. Is that Marty Hurney, the stain on Marty Hurney, Marty Hurney 2.0 has been far better than Marty Hurney 1.0 or 1, whatever. You know what I mean? Is that, and some people, we have a lot of theories if that's related to Jerry Richardson. We have, who knows, is that I do think that right now Marty Hurney is willing to take kind of a secondary role to Rule in his vision. And so you tell me what you want and I'll go make it happen type of thing. So I think there are some things about that hold a lot of weight. I think that you probably gave who was it? I was thinking, I think Starr, the reason he's a B plus pick, he's really an A pick, but he fell into Gettleman's lap. He was really supposed to be a top 5 pick that year. And then he had that virus that made people think he had a heart issue. He also opted out. So good call. A lot to think about and unpack. Back to the wide receiver thing. I did want to point this out. Right now, the Bills are paying Stephon Diggs this. Right now, he counts $4.7 million against the cap. John Brown this year counts $9.7 million. And Cole Beasley counts $7 million. They've got almost about $30 million wrapped up this year. And then more interesting about this, when we say that Buffalo is the Carolina Panthers North, it is not an exaggeration.
No.
Not at all. Listen to these names. This is so fun to look at their roster. Mario Addison, Vernon Butler, AJ Klein, Daryl Williams, right? Daryl Williams. Let's see. There's more up here. There's a lot more, actually. That is all. Oh, Andre Smith. Those are all on the active. But then you've also got Josh Norman. You also have Star Latulele, Dean Marlowe, who was a former Panther. Daryl Worley is on their practice squad. And Brian Cox Jr., another one that came from the Carolina Panthers. And I know I've had to have missed at least one in that.
5-on-5.
That's a lot of
5 of former Panthers players.
It's a lot of players out there.
Let's go ahead and just switch over to the office. Brandon Bean, Sean McDermott.
Exactly. All right, Cody, would you like to respond to any of that as you continue make your list of why you should be fired? I think he's right. I think he raises a lot of fair points that you can't hold the contract crap against him anymore. You can't, because he did that because Jerry Richardson made.
I can take his recent moves and show you how they haven't worked out for us. Just in his most recent
but not overpaying people. That you can't show us. That was before you were born. That is what happened.
Well, I don't know, but he overpaid Eli Apple, didn't he?
No, he paid him the league minimum.
League minimum, bro.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's a player that did what for us?
No, it doesn't matter. The league minimum, that's like nothing. That doesn't work.
He paid Shaq Thompson. He let go of James Bradbury. He moved up for Greg Little, and Greg Little still isn't a starter.
No. Now you're getting different things involved.
No,
I'm just saying the number one thing is about. No, we're breaking it point by point, Cody. And the first point that was the stain on his early record as a GM was that he paid these contracts out to the beloved. Before you were born, he paid Jake Delhomme, where his shoulder was bummed.
He paid D'Angelo Williams and Jonathan Stewart.
And it was a makeup year because Jerry Richardson made him do it.
Then he made a running back the highest paid running back in NFL.
Oh, wow. What?
And Christian McCaffrey, man. And I love Christian, but that's not what a good GM. How are you going to tell me this man is different and he doesn't overpay people anymore when he literally did the exact same thing and paid a running back?
Where's the Pat Coltrane bullet button?
And the NFL. Like, listen, man, the more we talk about Marty Herney, it goes back to what I said about Rivera. If you have this mindset of, oh, we'll never do better, oh, this is the best that we're ever going to be able to do, you're in an abused relationship, and you're telling yourself that you're never going to be able to have better than the shit that you're putting up with, so you might as well suck it up and accept the bullshit that you have. Fuck that, bro. Marty Herndon.
You're victim shaming us now. You're victim shaming us.
All right, here's my question.
The hill, bro.
Here's my question. Do you think the Saints GM is a good GM?
Yes.
Okay, so
With
they just
recent
paid
proof of him being
Michael
so.
Thomas ridiculous amount of money, and what has he done this year?
And Alvin Kamara. Well, Alvin Kamara has been
It's
awesome.
the
though.
exact
You
same
want me to
argument, but
go
it's
through
because it's
all of
working
the
on a better
other-
offense.
All right, but hold on. But then we can go through all the other moves that they've hit on, all the free agents that they brought in, all of the players
Robbie
that
Anderson.
they draft, all the players that they've drafted on their offensive line that are starters, and it's still one of the best offensive lines in football. And hey, how about this? They knew that Drew Brees is a 40-year-old paperweight with a fart for an arm, and they signed Jameis Winston. And now, whatever you think about Winston, at least they have a serviceable backup behind him. Like, there's no question that that's a better GM in the front office.
And they
There's
always
nothing
do.
about the front
And the one thing that they are able to do is that voodoo fucking magic on the cap. Somehow. Always voodoo magic. Okay. We're, Cody just victim shamed us. Next call, 252-228-5098.
Yo guys, what's up? It's Nick up here in Miz. So, it's Monday night, 24 hours after the game. Needless to say, I am still extremely disappointed with how everything went. I think everyone will agree with that. I mean, nobody really played well except for a few players. And special teams, actually. I will say special teams. It seems to be that special teams have definitely stepped up their game this year. I mean, we aren't perfect, but let's face it, nobody is ever going to be perfect 24/7. The post-game show, CK, you brought up a point saying that even if PJ Walker comes out and he balls out, that they would still play Teddy Bridgewater. Okay? I would have to at least slightly disagree with that. Okay? You are referring to the old regime with Ron Rivera, who is well known to be a veterans coach. If you are a veteran, you will always have a number one spot with Ron Rivera. With these guys, with Matt Rule, I mean, I can't necessarily speak for Phil Snow, I can't necessarily speak for Joe Brady, but it seems like Matt Rule wants to give everybody a fair shot. And if you are a rookie or a no-name guy and you are doing better than our number one guy, you are going to get that spot. That's what it really seems like is happening. I mean, I could be wrong with that, but it seems that way. I also want to point out as well, okay.
Defend myself on that one.
Here, you want to go ahead and comment on that. Before you do, I want to say, Nick, if I ever decide to kidnap somebody and ransom them, you are going to be the guy I get the call and be the deliver the money. Go ahead, CK.
What I was going to say is that we see now they're talking about Teddy Bridgewater will be practicing Wednesday. If this was a scenario where they really wanted to give somebody else another chance, they aren't going to risk a quarterback that's got knee injury history with a knee injury going out there and playing.
I think it's the other knee, though.
But still, I mean, what I mean by that is it's an MCL sprain, right?
Right.
If he's not as mobile, guess what? You're more likely to get hit. And so why wouldn't you just tell him, listen, we're going to – in a lost season already. Like, I know you don't want to give up hope, but, like, statistically speaking, this season is done. There is not much else we can do. Like, we can maybe continue and hope that the season gets shortened because of COVID, and then they increase the amount of people that go to the playoffs, and then hope that we get to the playoffs that way, if that's what you're going for. But that's just not the reality. If this was a team that actually had that mindset, they would tell Teddy to sit this week. I also think that they are going to play Teddy because Teddy is the only defense they have against letting go of Cam. That is it. And so if they continue, if they let somebody else start because they're playing well, then that's them conceding, oh, maybe we cut Cam for the wrong person. And then that's not going to sit well for a lot of the Panthers fan base.
All right, continue with the call.
You brought up the coaching and how you can't really tell if the coaching is any better this year. And while this entire year I've been saying that the coaching is a lot better, I see your point. And your point is that so much has changed on this team, you can't really take one spot and say, oh yeah, the coaching did this better, or the coaching made this better, the coaching made this worse. You can't even tell because of how much we've changed. There is literally no piece of this offense or defense, or hell, even special teams, that's the same as what it was before. Minus, DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel, but now you have Robbie Anderson in there, and he messes that whole thing up. And I'm running out of time, but you guys get the point. So.
All right, good call, man. Let's keep going through them.
Good.
Hi, Tony and guys. This is Chuck calling from Elizabeth City.
What's up, Chuck?
I just kind of wanted to take a step back for a moment as we get into these football seasons and look at things. You really got to focus on this coaching staff.
Oh, good
I like
follow-up.
what I see. I know a lot of people are going to, hey, this guy, I've been on Facebook and different places, and a lot of people say this guy can't coach, or our defensive, coach is not, doing his job, different things like that. I like what I see from this coaching staff. For so many years with Ron, the 9 years he was there, what we have? 3 winning seasons, even though we won a division title at 7-8-1, which is just merely luck. Ron did less with more than any coach I think we've ever had. We had a stacked
Wow.
with Cam and Luke in their prime, and he rode them in the ground. I know he's a good man down deep, and I know he's a player's coach. He could not end game scheme for the love of God.
Yeah, that's true.
I see this coach we have now, even though we're 3-7, we've played some games where we've come so close to winning with a roster that is depleted against rosters that are deep. And even this past game where it got blown out, we played them nip and tuck in the first half and even had a chance to be in the lead at halftime. I think the 98-yard touchdown run, and when you guys said after that run, it took the air out of Sells, and then Teddy throws an interception on the next possession right away. I think that kind of just, put us in a downward spiral for the rest of the game. Those games will happen even to the best of teams. But like I said, Ron is doing less. He did less with more. I mean, he did less with more. And we've got a coach now that's doing more with less. I want to see where we end up, if it's 4-12 or 7-9 this year, wherever we end up, and see how we do next year with another draft class and free agency, how we progress to see if not just in record if we're better next year, but on-field performance. I like where we're heading. I think we're going to be okay. And sometimes you just have to take a step back because we can't see forest for all the trees.
Call of the night right there for me. Call of the night.
Can we just get a wisdom Wednesday from him? Like just call in every Wednesday with a wise, just providing wisdom to everybody.
I agree, man. It's Chuck from Elizabeth City, I think he said. Keep calling back. And I think that we want, some ways us being competitive has made us want more. If we would have, is that we've been in these games, and so people are like, we can fight behind Teddy, we can build around Teddy, and this and that. But I think the call, right, or the part that just got me is to say, I agree 100 with it, and that is that Ron never beat you. And I've always said this, he was good, he wasn't a bad coach, but he didn't give you an advantage. Like, you didn't win 1 or 2 games because of Ron Rivera. And so he pointed to the scheme. But we did, it was kind of up and down. Like, in some ways, we didn't have a lot, right? In some ways, the kitchen cupboard was bare when it came to the Panthers under Ron Rivera. But like Chuck said, man, the staples are there. You had the milk, the eggs, and the flour. When it came to in the butter, so like you can cook something up with the bacon grease, the butter, and the flour, and the milk, and that was Cam, Luke, and there were some parts there at times, and they were able to do a little bit with it. And on that defense, man, boy, Greg Hardy, so he did. But we always did bitch about not having anything. That whole time. We always bitched about it only being Cam and Luke at the same time.
Well, I think offensively, and not necessarily on defense, but offensively, there was merit to that.
Mm-hmm.
There was.
We had Olsen, but he was injured a lot the last few years of his career, or with Carolina at least.
We never had receivers.
Receiving core.
Yeah.
And we never had an offensive line, which to have a good offense, those are really three key parts. Well, maybe not tight end, but at least a good wide receiving core, a decent one, and an offensive line.
I still believe the reason we did not ever have a good offensive line is because we had Cam Newton.
It's possible.
I believe it. Is you're going to try to tell me you're going to put down Matthew Stafford or Tom Brady? You know what I'm saying? The kind of more of a statue quarterback or a more fragile one. Cam was a luxury, and he said it. You use those two guys and you abused them.
Well, the problem was we didn't need an elite offensive line with Cam. We just needed a
because you could always get away with. You could get away. Here's the thing. You trying to tell me you can trot out Matt Khalil this is why I say this offensive line this year is not as bad as we're accustomed to, is because I watched Byron Bell get beat like a drum at left tackle. I watched Matt Khalil get beat like a drum at left tackle, and years and years and years of bum ass people on. And I would say this is, they're getting pressure on us, but you haven't seen Teddy just getting rocked in the back over and over and over. We took advantage. Cam Newton was a luxury, and that's why it's Cam Newton defenders, and it was Moneybags Lawson who said this. And it really lends a little bit to Cody's point, is that those are two players. They were our, bacon grease and eggs. And you're going to have a good meal when you got some bacon grease and eggs and butter and flour. And maybe we don't got any bacon grease right now. So that does lend to that point, and we did ride them into the ground. The superstar component. Who is the Panthers superstar? The number's 252-228-5098. Let's keep pounding with the calls.
Podcast brothers, how y'all doing?
Oh, what's up, G?
RCA. Hope y'all doing good and staying safe and everything. Yeah, I'm still kind of bummed out after that game, man. It was, 2 days ago, but still, we should have put up a better fight.
I agree.
There's something that just came to my mind that pisses me off even more. With the free agents that we got or whatever, none of them really panned out, man. Now, hear me out before y'all rip my face in half. Robbie Anderson is a good wide receiver. He fits our system pretty good. I think he does lead the team in receiving. I think he does, when you get me, and that dude Okong, he wasn't worth the damn money. Stephen Weatherly, he's not doing shit. Tahir Whitehead is fucking horrible, But with Robbie Anderson, here it is, week 11, and he leads the team in receiving yards, I believe, But here's my problem: he only has one touchdown. Here it is. Was it week 11,
1?
I think
week 1 is when he got 11, it too.
I think it's week 11, whatever. He has one touchdown. I'm like, come on now, man.
Oh, Teddy Bridgewater is a free agent.
I still believe in our team. I mean, now I'm at the point now, I don't think we're going to make the damn playoffs. At the beginning of the season, I was saying we're going to be fighting for that wild card spot, but I don't see it, man. I really don't. And I said it once, I say it again. Fire Phil Snow. Fire his ass, man. And Teddy Bridgewater is not the answer. I mean, he's a good backup, I'll give him that, but he is not the answer. And when it came to me, before I let you guys go, you guys can agree with me or disagree with me. If it came to getting a defensive coordinator when the off season comes, I wouldn't mind getting Wade Phillips. I'm dead serious.
I was thinking about
Wade
this.
Phillips as a
Not a bad
DC.
idea.
I think that would do pretty good. So give me your thoughts on that. Keep pounding.
All right. I'm gonna play. I want to be G. Cavassier's antidote right now. His villain. I'm gonna be the opposite here. One, I was thinking about this today. Is if you were gonna do something radical and part ways with Phil Snow, who would it be that you could bring in? And I've always been saying put a good seasoned defensive coordinator like they did with the Rams in Wade Phillips, and they paired him with the young, exciting head coach, right? You bring the old hat with the new. And the one thing I have is I want to know, and I'll ask the chat room, maybe they could tell us, has Wade Phillips played, had his defensive success in systems that were 4-3s? I think the Rams were a 4-3, so I think the answer is yes. The real thing about the free agency thing, and I think this kind of lends to Marty Herney actually doing an okay job. What did we say is so you got a problem with not you G, but I'm going to pick on Cody because Cody got a problem with this. What, Robbie Anderson's a bad acquisition? You can part ways with him next year and save money. You can keep him, and he's been pretty darn good. And you can keep him for one more year and then part ways. So it's not a long-term deal. It was kind of a lower risk. Yes, it was a little bit higher in money. But you guys want to pick on Tired Whitehead, and he has been sorry. But he is making a whopping league minimum. We paid him nothing, and we can cut him at any moment. You can cut him right now, and you save money. You don't pay him any money. He's on a 1-year deal for nothing, for pennies. He basically is making what Daryl Worley is making. Actually, he's making a little bit more than Daryl Worley. But the idea is, all right, who was another one? Pick another. Okay, I would say that the free agent, Okung, gone after this year, $0. $0. It was a salary dump.
Save how much next year? Hold on. Let's talk about this. How much did he save next year by doing that? By getting rid of Trey Turner?
Let's look up Trey Turner's contract. Trey Turner got a personal foul in this last game, by the way. I noticed 2021. Ooh, I wonder if they renegotiate his contract. Actually, it might not. They can cut him next year, the Chargers, and have zero dead money. He's got 11.5. It's 11.5 if they keep him.
Yeah, they must have renegotiated because I remember we were talking about that when he got traded. That actually saved us from having to take dead money if we have to release him next year.
Yeah. Well, hey, while we're talking about this right here, him talking about the stats and talking about DJ Moore, or talking about Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, which one had more receiving yards, maybe look up the stats on the team. And I got to ask a question we're talking about earlier, and we're talking about receivers, about who you're going to pay. You're going to pay DJ Moore, you're going to pay Curtis Samuel. Guys, I know you don't want to hear this, but DJ Moore's the best wide receiver on our team. Yeah. Well, listen to these stats: 39 receptions, 736 yards, 4 touchdowns. You know what Robbie Anderson is? 64 receptions, almost twice as many, 772 yards, so about 30 more yards, 1 touchdown. The difference is the catch rate of the catch percentage for Robbie Anderson is 74%. It's only 56 for DJ Moore. But
that's bad.
But the flip side to that is Robbie Anderson has an average yards per target of 9, and he gets 12-point yards per catch. DJ Moore has an average yards of 10, and he gets 18 yards per catch. So there's significant. It's yak, but it's worth it, right? And then I go look at Curtis Samuel's stats, guys. He's averaging 12 rushing yards a game and 41 receiving yards a game. Like Curtis
he did have his first 100-yard game.
He's a gadget player guy, but he's definitely not anywhere close to our best wide receiver.
Well,
I'd be interested to see what a combo of Curtis Samuel and Robbie Anderson look like. Would it be that much worse than what we have right now? I like DJ, but go ahead, Cody.
I mean, no, listen, DJ Moore, imagine how dynamic he could be if he was getting the ball in his hands downfield.
That would be
Where he
crazy, wouldn't
only
it?
has
Yeah.
one or two players
Mhm.
that he has to juke out of their shoes.
Yeah,
I
that'd be
mean,
crazy.
and listen, Teddy and DJ kind of share the same fate. They were drafted 1 year apart, and they have been plagued by quarterbacks that either can't or will not throw the ball downfield.
You mean
So-
Curtis and DJ, right?
Curtis and DJ, yeah.
Curtis and DJ,
Okay.
pardon me. And with Samuel too, it's been such a mismanagement of his
Same
talent.
person.
And that he could have been our real legitimate deep threat Tyreek Hill kind of receiver.
Mhm.
But we didn't have a quarterback that can get the ball in his hands down the field. So yeah, I don't blame anyone right now. Even though I don't think that's what Samuel truly is, a gadget player, I don't blame anyone for thinking, oh, well, that's all it is, because essentially that's how he gets the most of his points in this offense.
DJ Moore, only 23 years old, too. That's the other thing, is both of these. And how old is Robbie Anderson?
I don't know.
Robbie Anderson's the old hat at 27. So he's going to play this 2-year contract, and it's going to be gone. You know, I think that'll probably be it.
I don't understand the people that get mad at receivers just because it's not really dependent on them.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it is how much they separate and if they're open.
If they catch it, if they don't drop it.
What
Yeah,
is Curtis
but-
Samuel's catch percentage?
Curtis Samuel's catch percentage
100.
85.4.
So,
but his average yards per target is only 7.8.
He's Mr. Clutch, dude.
Yeah, and
And only on third
all I'm
down.
saying is, I think that we give Robbie Anderson. He's good, and I like what he's doing. He's productive. I think we give him too much credit because he's the new thing to look at, and because we see him more because he gets so many more catches and targets. But he's
Well,
not
it's
producing
actually been
more.
sliding down recently. So when you just divide it evenly, the first 5 weeks he had like 11 catches a game. He's on my fantasy team. This is why I know this. He was like my fifth receiver. He's just killing it. And now he's kind of regressed to the mean of 4 or 5 catches, 60 yards. But I think in a way too is that I would argue that I won't say I would argue. I hate when I say that. Robbie Anderson's touchdown rate is not only because of him. He got a touchdown in week 1 and he kind of made a good play. He was a little open. He dipped that ring and then took it to the house. But we only throw those kind of crossing slants to him. That's it. And then it's over. And then we get, it's like nobody has been great when it comes to touchdowns. And DJ has just manufactured a couple of touchdowns. And this past week being one of those that's padded, those stats. If you looked at them at week 5, they both had, 1 touchdown. Right. So it's tough. It's tough. I just think it comes down to we need a more balance of skill sets. And while Robbie Anderson has become a sort of possession receiver for the Carolina Panthers, if we're on the 5-yard line and you see Robbie Anderson manned up with a corner on the outside, you just don't feel like he's going to outmuscle him and go, drive to the pylon like a Mike Evans. And you know what? Neither is DJ because he's 6 inches shorter. The good news about DJ and Curtis Samuel is they're babies. 23 and 24. That's children in the NFL. 252-228-5098.
Hey, this is Kevin from Charleston, South Carolina, man.
What's up, Kevin? Way to bring the
I
energy,
want to talk
brother.
about Shaq Wilson, or Shaq Thompson. I don't know what that was. Thompson. And what he did after the game, just bitching out everyone and, just whipping his dick out, just smacking motherfuckers with it. I like that shit. I was worried that he might be one of those dudes who gets a contract and just doesn't give a shit. But, it's good to see that. And I think he'd be better next year because of it. Just once we get fucking Tirehead fucking off the team, 'cause I think he's just holding everyone back. I mean, you heard about the fucking 98-yard touchdown which Thompson called out several times.
Same play that Fournette ran on them
they want to talk about
first meeting. They said
they want to fire Jon Snow or the fucking Snow guy, whatever his fucking name is, because he's not impressive. It's like, no shit. You see our defense last year? Our defense was horrible. It was trash. And we had Luke Kuechly, and it was still trash. We had Bradbury, and it was still trash. We lose both those guys.
And we're still trash.
Still trash. I wasn't expecting our defense to be impressive, or our coaching staff from the defensive side to be, impressive. I expected it to be horrible, and it is. But yeah, I just want to get your thoughts about fucking Tirehead, because that's another thing. He was our biggest free agent on defense. And he's fucking horrible.
No, but he's not. It's like the only reason we say that is because he was the only one.
Everything else is fucking horrible. But yeah, what are your thoughts on Shaq Thompson and what he might do next year? Because I don't want to trade him anyway. I thought about we should trade him, but I don't think we should. After that outburst, it kind of gets me kind of hyped and excited about next year.
I always think CK's got the best position when it comes to Shaq.
Maybe you see a greater improvement in him. All right, that's my thoughts.
I have a question, guys, and maybe you can help me. Why the hell is Shaq calling out the plays if Tahir is the middle linebacker?
I was asking this earlier this
because
season.
Tired Whitehead is a nobody, and he's getting paid nobody money right now.
So why is Shaq not the middle linebacker? If you guys have the confidence in him to call the play, put him in the position that makes him the quarterback of the defense, and that is the middle linebacker. I mean, is it just?
Is there an argument that maybe the outside, and Cody, maybe you could speak to this more than I can, and so can the chat, does the outside linebacker, is he weak side or outside? What's the correct terminology for what he does?
There's weak side and strong side linebacker. Normally, Thomas Davis played strong side linebacker, and Shaq played will. But now it would seem as though I'm seeing Shaq more at strong than anywhere else. But
do you need a more athletic? Do you need a more athletic linebacker in that position than you do in the middle?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's why I think that he's there.
Yeah. And you normally you'll put him on. Sometimes you'll put your will linebacker in the slot too. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, he's never. Is that really enough to make Panther fans say, "Oh man, yeah, okay, let's keep him"? Like, all he had to do was just get mad and start cussing people out. I wanted to play better, man. I wanted to be a better football player. And again, I know he's not working with much. He doesn't have any help to his left or his right.
But that's the problem.
Yeah. I mean, it is a problem.
I said it on the post game. Shaq has always had to elevate his play to be at the same level, or at least try to live up to what Luke and Thomas Davis were. Right. But his teammates aren't having to have that same elevation for him.
Okay.
Like, it's not. And that's the thing, is the people around Luke played better because they were on Luke's team, right? Luke knew every position. He knew what everybody was supposed to do, and he made sure everybody knew their assignments. And yes, it didn't always work out. Yes, we had some bad defenses, but overall, Luke was a staple to why our defense was consistently in the top 10 over Ron Rivera's tenure.
That's why we don't want him to be a scout. That's why we wish he was a coach.
Well, so you're saying basically Shaq's not a good leader, is what you're saying?
No. I think this is that. Are we just spoiled by what Luke Kuechly did? I don't look around the league and see all these middle linebackers doing the same shit that Luke did.
Yeah. I mean, that's something that I think that we've been spoiled over the past 20 years, really, with
linebackers. Yeah.
It's not even been the past 10 years. It's been 20 years.
Yeah,
Dan
that's
Morgan,
the truth.
Beeston, Thomas Davis, Luke.
All
it's just been
cerebral athletes too. I think though, but one way is I think you've said that those guys have elevated his play. I think another way of looking at it, and I think this is what Blake Bettis is saying in the chat, is that he needs a compliment. Is I just don't think Shaq is as transcendent to raise up a Tahir Whitehead. But if you put Devin White beside Shaq, like all of a sudden we're talking about like something impressive. He is not enough by himself. And tired Whitehead, folks, we got to stop throwing him under the bus because he ain't got shit. The fact is he was brought in to just be a body, and the fact that he's playing such a big role is a little ridiculous. At the same time, Stephen Weatherly did make more money. Stephen Weatherly signed a 2-year contract. The contract was worth $12.5 million with $6.5 guaranteed. If we cut him next year, he still gets paid $2 million. We do save $6 million. So we just didn't pay anybody. Robbie Anderson got the most money, and he's only on a 2-year deal. All of the yes, you're right. Teddy Bridgewater did. That's exactly right. And even him. Let's look at when we can get rid of him. Any other thoughts on that call as we continue to plow forward? All right, let's keep going. There's still a lot of calls to go, so we got to keep pushing.
This is your boy Jay Anderson hitting y'all up. Man, I'm on Twitter, man, and just seeing everybody just saying we need a franchise quarterback, which is, yeah, we need a franchise quarterback. I'm going back and forth thinking like, hey, if we get up in the top 5, we might as well jump for it, especially for Justin Fields, But through all that, man, we got to get rid of Hurney, man.
Cody, I'm going to let you cover this call.
The best time they should have got rid of Hurney was last year. You got to get rid of Hurney, man. This is like, we need a GM that's going to make moves, not just in the draft, not just for the draft, but in the free agency, just going to make moves. I mean, you need a go-getter. You need somebody that, that knows how to judge talent. Not just first-round talent, but deep-round in the talent. You're not going to hit it all in every draft, but, if you got 7 picks, at least hit 3 out of 4 of those. If you got 6, at least hit 3 out of those. Not just one, that's just the first round. And then, like, you got to be a, judge of talent, man. You got to know talent. Collide with your coach to know talent, what your team needs. Not just for a starter, but somebody that can start, but is a backup. So Hurney needs to go. It's just time. It's just really time. And I don't think, Tepper, if he wants to win, he got to get rid of Hurney. He just got to get rid of Hurney. Hurney has to go. I mean, I wish we would have had a chance to keep Brandon Beam because, like you said, I watched that video that you said, Cody, and I just, just seeing what he doing up there with the Bills and
he went and watched the video.
So hopefully we can steal Dan Morgan from up there. But, Hurney got to go. All right, ciao.
Appreciate you, man. And listen, Jay's right about this. I'm right about this. There are levels. There are levels to building a football team. You have to do a number of things well. And if you want to talk about building through the draft and you want to talk about building through free agency, none of the moves that Marty Hurney has made in his most recent tenure have done enough to provide that he is worth the job that he currently has. There's no reason to say that someone couldn't do it better, and I feel like I have a justifiable list of reasons why Marty Hurney has shown us that he is not the man that understands how to build a football team right now and into the future. He's not great at either of those things. And if we're wanting to upgrade our organization at the most important positions, at quarterback and in the front office, then you need to get the guy that you want to build your fan base and your football team into essentially one of the best in the NFL, man. Like David Tepper looks at this like a business. Okay? He wants to put smart business people in positions of power. And Marty Herney is not that. He has never been that. He is the last holdout of a regime that is no longer here for the Carolina Panthers. There is no reason to sign him back to any more deals as a GM. He needs to be gone. He needs to be gone.
I want to point out, though, that we are, if we can get, I want to give Brad Dugan the credit for this, listing out how many quarterbacks: Lawrence, Fields, Lance, Wilson, Trask, Mac Jones, Ian Book, Ellinger. It's a deep quarterback draft. If you are in that, if somehow we find ourselves in the top 6, we could land the guy. And we are in a cap situation with Teddy Bridgewater where it will not hurt us at all. Teddy Bridgewater, after this year, will have 1 year left. We got to pay him. He's going to be with us next year. You can cut him in 2022 and save a lot of money. But you could save $20 million, right? Yeah. And to Blake Bettis' question is how much cap money? Without any moves right now, the Panthers are sitting at $18 million in space. Now it says effective cap represents the maximum cap space it has when it signs at least 51 players. We are behind. We're kind of middle of the pack. Right, we don't have a ton, but I want to see this. Do we have any rollover? Do we have any leftover? Let's see. I don't know if we have any. And then you've got the cuts you're going to make. Right, so you got $18 million without anybody coming off the books, except for the guys whose contracts are expended. I don't know who the players you could potentially cut or release that will save you some money.
K1 Short would be another.
Oh, let's look at him.
12 or $13 million or something.
Well, here's the thing is, to do a proper rebuild of a franchise, the two things you absolutely must have is money and draft picks, which neither we're bountiful in. You know, we don't have a ton of
not an actual rebuild.
So what are we doing then? So that's what I just don't understand.
It's not a rebuild?
I don't understand.
Listen, we have too many pieces in place already. Like a rebuild is what you see Miami did, right? They got rid of every piece they had for draft capital, and then
we're
they rebuild,
fucked if we cut KK. Sorry,
but see, here's my thing, and this is what I don't understand. Is we kind of talk in circles with this. It's like, okay, we're not doing a rebuild because we have enough pieces.
We're building
forward and work.
We're building. We're not rebuilding. We're building.
But we don't have a team with any players that are good enough to have a bright future that we can.
Yes,
build
we
on.
do. Kind of that's all right. We said we have young players. We got young players. We got Christian McCaffrey.
Okay.
We got Robbie Anderson. We got DJ Moore. We got Brian Burns. We got Derek Brown. Jeremy Chin. Yeah, and then all of a sudden,
free agent in free space on the draft.
That's why I agree. That's why it's not a rebuild. That's what I 100%.
Right.
If it was a rebuild, you would see something along the lines of what the Vikings did when they got rid of Stephon Diggs, right? You'd see them
or what the Dolphins did last year. Dolphins traded away everybody. How did the Dolphins trade away everybody and then get better this year? That's insane.
They opened up a shit ton of free agent space, and they got a shit ton of draft picks.
I don't want to fuck with the Dolphins, dude. I've watched their games. That team plays. You think that we're a good team? Some people think the Panthers are a good team with a losing record. They are a good team with a winning record.
So here's my question, guys. Right now, do you guys know where we're projected for? I mean, right now, based on our record, where we're drafting?
It was ninth or last.
Ninth. It's ninth.
Yeah.
I saw ninth, and then I've seen others that have us at 10 and 11.
So right now we're ninth based on Tankathon.
If the season ended today, yeah.
The teams ahead of us are the Jets. Do they take a quarterback first and foremost?
If they're number one, definitely.
Yes.
Okay. So that obviously then leaves their number one draft pick from a few years ago out there in the hemisphere, right? Jacksonville. Do you think they stick with Mustache?
No, they're drafting the quarterback.
Not if they can get Fields, yeah.
They would take Fields, yeah.
Washington is number 3. We can assume they're going quarterback.
Yeah. No, I think we can, as they passed on it this year with an opportunity to give. They went with the best player in what's that freak? And they got
Chase Young. The question going forward is where Trey Lance and Zach Wilson, where they're going to end up being evaluated. Because if Zach Wilson continues to climb, Trey Lance is done. He's played every bit of football you've ever seen him play, and that's done.
Who does he play for?
He played for the North Dakota Bison, but they're not playing anymore.
Why? Because of COVID?
COVID, and then they did this one-off game. They're gonna have.
You mean they play in a league where they don't got any teams to play? Is that what you're saying? They play in a fake football league. All right, and hopefully we're back. Thank you, Sam Baker, for hanging around. Cody Lashney had to split. And we were talking about the draft order. The Panthers, with this, do not look. It's going to be hard for them to creep higher than 7? I mean, are we really going to finish that much? Even if we lose, where do you see us finishing or drafting? Not finishing. We've argued about wins and losses enough.
I see.
Where are we drafting at? Are we drafting top 5? It doesn't look like it. Top 10, maybe?
No, Tony, I see us winning 2 more games, probably. Just fluking and winning 2 more games and ended up drafting 11th to 14th, just like I said. And that's where we're going to end up. It's where we always happens to us. We always blow it at the end of the year. It's like a couple years ago against the Saints. Saints already won the division. They have the number 1 seed locked up. We're not going to the playoffs. Our draft pick went from like the 8th pick to the 17th pick because we beat the Saints in the last game of the season. Why? We do stupid stuff like that. We'll draft 11th to 14th.
Okay. I forgot what call we were on. Let me see. Have we heard this call?
What's up, C3? It's Run DMC Lovato again. Call number 2.
Oh, hold on. Well, then let's go find call number 1.
This is, Brandon. Don't know if y'all ever took me. If not, first time caller. If not, second time caller.
What's up, Brandon?
Big fans. I've been listening for a number of years.
Thank you.
And
through all our technical difficulties.
As of right now, so I've definitely been on the anti-Teddy Bridgewater, which, y'all have been talking about that a ton. But I just kind of want to say that, in my opinion, I honestly believe that, for one, it's not all the offensive line's fault. I think that they're decent. But I also think that a lot of the sacks and problems are caused by Teddy himself. I think we have a very dynamic wide receiver group. And in my personal opinion, I think we are literally a quarterback and a possibly 1 or 2 offensive linemen away from being, and maybe a tight end, away from being that offensive line being really good. And on defense, it's simple. We need some more cornerbacks. We need another outside rusher, and we need some more linebackers. But, it's like this. People need to understand that this is going to take a while. It's going to take years. We're probably not going to be good next year either. And even if we do by chance, and it kind of stinks that, now with those 3 wins, we probably and if we get even a couple, even one more, we probably just screwed ourselves out of getting a quarterback. And who knows what's going to happen, because if not, we're either going to have to be stuck with Bridgewater, or we're going to have to trade up a ton of capital next year to get a quarterback. And I don't know who's available next year. 2022. Anyway, this was a frustrating loss, even though I will say that at this point I just don't care. If we lose, we lose. Fine. If we win, whatever. Anyway, keep doing what y'all are doing. We'll keep listening. Y'all are really fun to listen to. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Brandon, for the call. I think, in some ways that maybe we're not as far away as you think, is that you're right. We might not be great next year, but we could be trending the right way. You add a free agent or 2. The offensive line, I don't know. You're right. I don't know. Is that, do you fix it through free agency or the draft? I guess is the question. If you fix it through the draft, it's going to take more time than not. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing, is even if you get the best fucking left tackle in the damn draft, they never play great their first year. Or rarely, should I say. It's going to take a little time.
That's my issue is would you rather invest into a proven free agent offensive lineman or spend a top 10 pick on an offensive lineman rookie that you don't know what's going to happen? With our luck with offensive linemen.
I guess it's just where you allocate your money, right?
Yeah.
252-228-5098.
Hey, what's up, it's Run DMC Lovato. I got a question for you guys addressing like our holes on the team. I want one of y'all to talk about what you think in order is our biggest needs and biggest holes, and like 1 through 5, what's our biggest holes, like cornerback, linebacker, offensive tackle, guard, defensive line, whatever it could be, in order, and talk about if you want to address those positions in free agency or address those positions in draft.
The hardest question.
That's all I got, man.
Okay. I think this is that our top needs, it depends on just what you think is with Teddy, right? Is that if you think that we can kind of build temporarily around Teddy, which probably is the case, and we can't get a free agent, a top 6, we got to be in the top 5, it looks like, to get the quarterback that we really, really love. Top 6, somewhere like that. So I don't think quarterbacks are number 1. I think it comes to left tackle, corner, linebacker, defensive end, and just anybody on the offensive line, guard or center too. And I think you have to look at it this way, is that you draft the most expensive positions in free agency and you buy the cheaper positions in free agency. A center is cheaper than a left tackle. A linebacker is cheaper than a corner, right? The top linebacker gets less money than the top corner. The top center gets less money than the top left tackle. And the same on defensive end. Defensive end, they're expensive in free agency. So I think you got to draft, you got to prioritize those expensive positions. Left tackle, corner, defensive end. And then I say you go guard, center, guard. You can get a center in like the 3rd round or something like that. And those guys will turn out to be good in a year or two. They will. They just aren't sexy positions enough. I think you go free agency, linebacker. I think you go free agency, guard. And really probably all of our, most of our free agency money is probably going to be spent on Taylor Moton. So that's my opinion. All right, let's keep pounding.
Hey, this is
and it's just us two now. Everybody dropped out.
If not first time caller, if not second time caller. Big fans. I've been listening for a number of years, and
we heard this one again. All right, next call.
Oh yeah, man. This is Jay Anderson calling me out again. Did y'all see that thing about Matt Rule talking about number 52? He played well.
Oh man, I hope he did not.
Yo,
say
man,
that.
Matt Rule tripping, man. I know he caking for his boy. Matt Rule need to. 52 got to go. 52 just got to go.
It's true.
And I know everybody.
And he will.
Like,
he will. Don't worry.
You can't expect him to beat Luke Kuechly. I'm not trying to. Luke is on another level. Nobody was looking for another Luke Kuechly. They're just looking for a solid.
Yep.
Mike. Just looking for a solid Mike. Somebody that's going to do well. Somebody going to do well in that position. Not looking for another Luke Kuechly or nothing like that. This a solid piece. Hell, AJ Klein wasn't a Luke Kuechly. He was a solid piece.
True. But he also didn't play very much.
Really hope for the draft and they get rid of him. Hopefully Matt Rule come to his sister, come through his mind and get rid of his boy. And do not select any tempo players. or Baylor players.
You know he's going to. You know he's going to select Temple and Baylor players. He already has a track history of doing it.
What's
You
up,
know?
C3?
Like, come on.
Yep. All right, keep going.
C. Lovato again, call number 2. I got a question for you guys. Let's say we're in the draft, okay? We'll pick number 10.
Where we need Cody.
We have Zach Wilson and Trey Lance there.
I'm tabling this one for next week. I'm tabling this one for next week. You want it?
My answer already, but
All right, all right.
I don't know enough about it, but I know
That's what I'm saying. That's how I feel. Is like I'm gonna table that one for next week.
All right.
Don't worry,
Run DMC Lovato, call number 3.
Oh, call number 3.
I have a little discussion about Marty Hurney.
All right. Good.
Marty's not gonna like to hear this. But listen, I think we can come to a place where I think we all agree on, okay? Marty Hurney doesn't deserve to keep his job, right? And I'm not saying he's horrible. I think he's probably average, right? And you want to be better than average. You don't want to like consistently just accept average. So we need to get a better general manager, right? But there's always that other side of getting another Dave Gettleman that I'm terrified about. Someone that doesn't have the same views as Matt Rule. And say we do kick out Marty Hurney, Matt Rule is he gonna be the one to pick a GM? Like, who's gonna be the GM? So, and I think I'm just more terrified of picking up on the GM. Even worse, there's way worse than Marty Hurney out there, Cody. I know you don't want to see that, but
we're gonna bring this back up to him. I'm gonna bring this call back next week too.
So, yeah. But I know what Cody's gonna say. He's gonna say, "Well, just because you're afraid doesn't mean you still don't take a trigger." Just like we did on Ron Rivera. Like, we could have got a way worse coach, but we still went ahead and got rid of him because he wasn't good enough. And that's what Cody's gonna say. He's not good enough, so why is he still here?
You might have to have Rule pick him then.
I'm different on the GM. I agreed with the Ron Rivera thing. He wasn't good enough.
This is a great call. Great call.
And it's paid off. But I don't think a GM is as easy as a coach. I'm kind of scared to get rid of Marty myself. But what do you guys think? Like, are you more afraid? The reason why you don't want to get rid of Marty is because you're more afraid of messing up and getting another Dave Gettleman, or because you really do like Marty Hurney? What are your thoughts on that guy?
I have been consistent in this. Is I did not like the way they approached. I thought that I liked the idea of bringing in a GM and a coach together. And they live and die together, right? The GM picks the coach with the owner, right? So, like, they get together, they go in and eat meatballs at Matt Rule's house, like it happens with us, right? It did happen that way, is like the owner and the GM pick the coach. But what I want to do is you bring in the new GM, you bring in the new coach, and it just says this, is that, like, if this doesn't work, you don't get to fire the coach and pick the next coach. You already fucked up. You pick this coach. So you live together, you die together. I think that Tyler brings up a fantastic point, and that is that if you bring in a GM and they butt heads with Matt Rule, and say it goes like this, say they differ over a draft pick, and then we don't do that well, and that draft pick gets hurt, and then you get this kind of fighting back in this this division inside between the GM. The GM is saying, well, I told you should have picked my guy, or the head coach is saying you should pick my guy, and you're forcing this on this and that and this and that on me. That's the good part about Marty Hurney, is he's kind of like a chameleon. He can work with anybody. He can work with Jerry Richardson. He can work with David Tepper. He can work with Matt Rule. That's a very good benefit to him. I think if you do pick a GM, Greg, I think what you got to do is I think that Tepper and Rule got to pick them together. And it ultimately makes Rule ahead of the GM.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you 100%, Tony. I think that whenever you bring in a new tenure like that, you should have a new coach and a GM should be kind of hired together, kind of at the hip, like a president, vice president type deal. I think the fact that they got rid of Cam, they got rid of Greg Olson, they did change the whole identity of his team, got rid of everybody, the head coach, offensive coordinators, everything, and they didn't get rid of the GM. Makes me think they're not getting rid of him. Why would you wipe a clean slate with everybody but him if you're not planning on keeping him?
I think Hurney's kind of I like Hurney in this. Is like I don't dislike him as much as most people do.
And I don't either. Yeah.
I kind of feel like Hurney has accepted his role. Mm-hmm. And it's like I'm not the big dick GM. It's like, and you brought this up earlier in the show, and I think you're right on the money. Is like, it's almost like Rule's saying that we acknowledge this. We gave Rule an 8-year contract. Mm-hmm. Right, you ain't going nowhere, homie. And if you do go anywhere, you're getting paid like a motherfucker, and you're going to get a job afterwards. Don't worry. If we part ways with you, we are going to be the ones paying the child support, the alimony.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I feel like Rule is saying this, is that, like, I think Marty Hurney's saying this, is that we know that this is the Rule show, and rules are the rules, and you just tell me what you need, brother. I'll get it done. I feel like he is, and that is maybe the type of GM you kind of need at this point, or you need another guy very similar to that who is going to take his marching orders and fall lockstep.
Yeah. You need a yes man who's not afraid of taking the blame, which we know, obviously, that's what Hurney seems like he is. And two, going back to replacing the GM, like Cody's been kind of preaching for, what's the future if you get rid of him? Like, if you have somebody in place, if you have an idea of somebody you want, then okay, I can hear that argument. But I haven't heard any kind of rumors about anybody that could replace him. And like we said, if anything, he's average. He's not terrible. So why take the chance to get rid of somebody who's who's at least average when you're a below average team? I guarantee you, if he drafts next year and he hits the first 3 rounds drafts next year, everybody's going to be on the side of that and be like, "Oh, we got to keep Hurney. Look what he built for us." Type deal. It's going to change, but I think I'm like you. People forget some of the things he's given the team. He has had some bad ones too, but all GMs do, and I just don't see, unless you have something out there, somebody that wants to come here that is a better option, what's the point in getting rid of him right now?
It seems like he's willing to work with, and Rule seems enthusiastic. Maybe, and who knows? We'll find out. We'll find out after this year. And then, again, the question comes down to, when do you bring in the new GM? Right. Do you bring him in now? Like, if we start to fall apart and David Tepper is upset, does he say, "All right, you're done. Time to bring in the new scouting staff, this and that"? I don't really get that feeling right now.
No. Why would he give Hurney one more chance, but nobody else on the team? Why did he get rid of everybody else to keep Hurney if he wasn't planning on keeping him for good?
And
Tepper just likes Hurney as a guy. That could be a part of it.
He's always well loved, man. That's what the people hate about him, is that, like, people like Hurney. And that's Tim Tizzy's right. He doesn't even make the decisions. I think that's why. He's like a patsy. He's kind of like a limp dick GM right now, in a good way. Is that he's like a cuck. He is Matt Rule's cuck GM. All right. And you know what? I like Marty Hurney. I do. I think he gets too much trash. I think he's done a lot of good things. And I continue to say that those contract years are what really has been the shit on him. I mean, has he been sensational? I don't know. I mean, we've had two. We have made the Super Bowl twice in our short tenure. We have been a very competitive team. He's doing better than the Hornets are.
That's not saying much.
All right, last call.
Right.
Last call.
What's up, guys? It's Cody. No, I'm just trying to fuck with y'all. It's Zach again. But for real, man, I love this team, and I just want to see them get better. Appreciate what you guys do. Keep it up.
Thanks, Zach,
that
man.
Was great. Last to end on right there. Positive note. Nothing but I like that.
All right. Look, it's the C3 Panthers podcast. Ran into our first technical difficulties in a while, man. We've been running kind of smooth for a minute, and I think it was me fucking around because I got like I do believe, and I don't like to. I think you can overpower ADHD with your mind. Like, I think that some of it is too, like, I mean, I know that some people have the straight chemical, but I do have a little bit of it. And I've been, like, playing with this thing right here the whole time on the podcast.
The whole time that I'm, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it hit my space bar, and I think that that's what, I don't know. I have all these theories about why it froze up. Who knows? I need all new computers. That is actually the true case. There again. All right, let's get rid of this podcast. Thanks for sticking around, guys. Thanks for the calls. The number's 252-228-5098. I guess it's time to ice some people up. I don't have any good ice up picks. I could say YouTube right now because our podcast went down. Do you have any ice up picks in your world of podcasting? I know you are all over the map.
Yeah, I do. I have two. One kind of off the wall,
I like
and
it.
one for a fan. Should I give which one?
Yeah,
You want a fan?
bring them both. Bring them both. Let's see.
All right. So my one's kind of off the wall. I heard a story today about a guy who broke out of prison in 1971. That's been out for 49 years and just got caught because he changed his identity and everything. Man, totally got away with escaping from prison. 49 years he's been out working for CVS as a as a travel pharmacist.
Hell yeah!
He got caught stealing pills.
Oh,
and his fingerprints. They said they caught him, and
I'm rooting for this guy too.
Yeah. So, dude, for him, man, ice up for real. And for my fan one, I got to go back to Sunday's post game show. And Brother Herbert, man, in the chat room.
Oh,
I
this is a good
you,
one.
Man.
Just please,
I got to ice you up, dude, because you were debating with me the whole show about how none of this was on Teddy Bridgewater. The entire reason we lost was just the defense, that it wasn't Teddy Bridgewater at all. And while I don't disagree with you that it was the defense, you can't say it wasn't Teddy Bridgewater. 1 for 8 on third downs, 20 yards of offense in the entire second half. Okay? And you tried to make the argument with me that 17 points is plenty enough points for a team to win if you have a great defense. So you know what I did? I spent my lunch break today going back and
thank you. Please, tell me all the teams that have held people to 17 points.
Yes, here you go. So I just did all of 2019 seasons for two reasons. One, because it's a full season of stats, and two, because there was no COVID. So I don't want anybody talking about COVID this, no training camp that. So one full season, to give us an example, 256 games, 27 games of 256 were won by 17 points or less. And I'm giving you the field. 17 or anything under that. When a team only got to 17 points, 27 out of 256 games, 10.5%. So, Brother Herbert, if you want to take that and use that as your narrative for what a team needs, you can have your 1.8 wins a year with that stat, okay? Because if you don't have an offense that can score the ball either, you're not going to win. I'm not blaming it all on Teddy, but 20 yards of offense in the second half is also a big reason, especially when you go into a game where it's 17-17 at halftime. It's a tie ball game. You're basically starting
0-0 and 0-0 then
0-0 at halftime. So you're basically starting fresh right there, and you got blown the fuck out. So you can say he had a great first half, and he did. If you consider 12 passes for 100 yards a great first half, but I mean, still, you got to have offense with the defense. 17 points is not going to be enough to win. And just so you know, the top 10 defense, top 5 defenses last year in 2019, so I pulled stats from there. Pat's 14.4 yards a game, Buffalo 16.5, Baltimore 18.2, Chicago 18.6, Pittsburgh 18.9. So even the top 3 of the top 5 defenses didn't hold teams to 17 points a game last year. So you want a top 1 or 2 defense? Is that what we need to make Teddy Bridgewater look good? Is a top 1 or 2 defense? Because I don't have faith in that kind of quarterback. So, Herbert, ice up, buddy.
Ice up. And here is the thing: is I'm okay with you saying that he can win with a better defense, right? Yeah, I'm okay with that. But when you say 17 points, you're talking about some of the best defenses in the history of football. The Carolina Panthers 23 13 defense gave up 15.7 points or something per game. And they were on pace to be the best defense since the 85 Chicago Bears. And they finished second in the league that year because Seattle gave up like 15.2 points per game. But those are transcendent defenses. You know, so when you keep a team, if you keep a team under 20, if you average under 21, I kind of feel like you're a good defense in this day and age. Maybe even 23 in a way. And so our defense has, you know, I just feel like 17, but shit, is that Trent Dilfer can win with a 17. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like anybody can win with a defense that only allows 17 points. Right? I wonder if the Bears are even allowing 17 points this season. I'm going to ice myself up today. My ice up pick goes to myself because I had a great question that I wanted to ask on the show, and I got distracted by everything. By the show, the calls, and our continued banter. But I wanted to ask this, and I thought it was going to be a controversial question. And that is, as we prepare for the Lions, which this show was supposed to be about, it's called Preparing for the Lions, and we have not talked about the Lions. I don't even think we mentioned the Lions even once.
Although maybe I do think it's a win this weekend.
Really?
I do.
Okay, so this was my controversial question. Do you think do you think in a, like, if you were given like a written essay, like an essay prompt or something like on a test, and the question was, should the Panthers win this weekend? Should, not can they win, but should they win? Is there any world where the stronger argument is really towards yes?
I honestly would have to look more at Detroit. I don't know their stats. I don't even know what the record is.
They are so we're 3-7. They are 4-5.
So they're not much better.
No,
they're biased. And then the only reason that I think we're going to win is because I have absolutely no faith in the Lions whatsoever. The Lions are the Panthers for the last few years have been mediocre and just middling team for the last 10, 11 years. We had a couple good seasons. The Lions are always that team or worse. They're never better. It's always middle of the pack or worse than the league. And I just have no faith in the Lions. I think any team can beat the Lions any Sunday. It just, I don't know.
10 Tizzy is with me. 10 Tizzy, we should not win. And the reason I thought this was going to be a controversial question and why I wanted to ask it early in the podcast, and I was about to ask it, and then we got into this other good conversation, was, and I mentioned it a little bit, is I was telling Cody, my fan bias always wants me to say that I'm going to pick I think the Panthers can win. I don't want to pick against them. Like right now, look, we're 3-7, they're 4-5. I'm going to pick the Panthers, blah, 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 but I understand there's a fan bias, A. B, for me, is that I always get the kind of that underlying subconscious fear of being a fan that saying there's a difference between should and can. Right, and I do think on any given Sunday, and arguably this Panthers team comes out and plays hard sometimes and looks pretty damn good. And we've played some really, and we've played up to competition while it always seems like the Detroit Lions kind of regress to the mean. Like they play down to their competition. So they play a shitty team, they play shitty. They play a good team, they play shitty. We play a good team, we play well, but we lose. We play a shitty team, we play better. My thing is I think they are better. They're a better talented team. Right. And so I think we can win, and I think we likely might win because of all those kind of things you said about them. But look, they got a quarterback that is better than Ted. Quarterback to quarterback, Stafford. I'm ready to take Stafford. If I had my pick of litter, I would take Stafford over Teddy.
I would take Stafford over Teddy. Yeah.
Right? Is that we've been shitting on our offensive line. I don't know exactly what their offensive line looks back, but if it's worse than ours, okay, then we'll start to have a conversation. But they got some horses on defense. They have a good wide receiver core, Marvin Jones, Galladay, DeAndre Swift. They have talent. They're not an untalented team. I think sometimes we're kind of rosy-eyed a little bit when it comes to rose-colored glasses when it comes to the Panthers. I think we can win. I just wonder if there's an argument if we should win. And at the end of the day, and that's why I'm icing myself up for not asking that question early in the podcast when people were listening and why we had everybody. But anyway, C3 Panthers podcast brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. Thanks for tuning in to part 2, stream 2. Thanks for my homies, 10 Tizzy, Blake Bettis, Trill 1, Z Beer D every day. That's a tough one. Joseph Broach. Thank y'all, Run DMC Lovato, for checking out our second stream and our first stream and being with us to the end. We value your time. At cat_chronicles. Greg, where can they find Man of Many Podcast taking a night off to go bounce wow tomorrow on his night off? You better.
Oh, yeah.
You better get some wine. You better get the Boone's Farm out or whatever you guys do.
Oh yeah, my wife's definitely got the plans. We got we just refinanced our house and we got our refund check for our escrow today. So, we're definitely,
you're gonna party it up.
Something, but yeah, you can find me at the Bad Daddy 52 on Twitter. Check me out there. You can find everything I'm on Geek Ultimate Alliance Network, and you can check out all my shows.
All right, guys, and don't worry, Blake Bettis. I'm gonna play the intro next week, so CK can hear it, and I'll send it to him too. Don't worry, we're out of here, guys. We got to get the hell out of here. My wife's going to kill me. We'll see you next week.